Court ruled was in breach of the Constitution and illegal. There's a lot of storm and tornado damage in several states, especially Tennessee, where Governor Bill Lee says they have
entire neighborhoods that were completely wiped out, apartment complexes that were destroyed by the tornado. Many families displaced, loss of life.
5 people were killed in Tennessee. There was another death in Missouri and another in Florida and Indiana. More storms are forecast, along with
the heavy rainfall, the once-in-a-generation potential flooding event for some of the same areas.
Maybe Texas up to Pennsylvania. America's listening to Fox News.
Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
I'm Ben Domenech, Fox News contributor and editor of the Transom.com daily newsletter, and I'm inviting you to join a conversation every week with the smartest thinkers out there about the issues Americans face and where we're going as a nation. This show will feature deep dive interviews with newsmakers and some of your favorite Fox News analysts. I hope you'll join me as we dive into the fray. It's the Ben Domenech Podcast.
Subscribe and listen now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you download podcasts.
The director of the National Security Agency has been fired. General Tim Hawk let go, along with some members of the White House National Security Council. The top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, said in a statement, "How does firing Hawk make Americans any safer?" In addition to leading NSA, Hawk was also head of the U.S. Cyber Command. And before his dismissal by the president, the leaders of the U.S., European, and African commands testified at a Senate hearing about our biggest security threats.
General Christopher Cavoli said in Europe, that remains Russia.
One that is willing to use military force to achieve its geopolitical goals and is today actively waging a campaign of destabilization across Europe and beyond.
General Michael Langley, the leader of U.S. Africa Command, said the threats on that continent are varied from
terrorists who take advantage of conditions in Africa to grow and export their ideology
to the U.S.'s biggest growing threat.
It is where the Chinese Communist Party actively works to change the international rules-based order.
Each testified maintaining crucial relationships with our allies is key. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
The number of deaths in the Los Angeles area wildfire disaster earlier this year is now up to 30.
The medical examiner's office said that human remains were discovered Wednesday on a scorched property in Altadena, one of the Eaton fire burn areas. The number of people killed in that fire is now 18, while 12 people perished in the Palisades fire. The wildfire started on January 7th, taking out 17,000 structures, including homes, schools, and businesses. Investigations are underway into the causes of the fires. Laura Cantor, Fox News.
We'll get an update to the economy this morning amid all the stock market uncertainty and the new U.S. tariffs on imports. It's the monthly jobs report expected to show a modest decline in hiring from February, but economists expect the unemployment rate remaining about 4.1% in March. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
So, what'd you call me over here to see, buddy?
Well, wait till you see the new set of wheels
Whoa! Would you look at this garage floor? Wow, buddy, is this a new coating?
Well, yeah, but
it's so smooth and shiny. It looks like a showroom in here. Wow, looks easy to keep nice and clean, too.
Yeah, it is, but...
Man, I've been thinking about getting a new coating. This is a sweet-looking garage floor.
You happen to notice my new Corvette?
Oh, huh. That's cool, too.
Level 10 Coatings, Chicagoland's premier concrete coatings company. We can improve the look of your garage, basement, office, or outdoor space with customized concrete coating solutions. As Chicagoland's only certified Cimarron installer, we're setting industry standards. Level 10 Coatings uses polyurea and polyaspartic coating, which is stronger than epoxy. Turn your ugly garage floor into a showroom floor this spring. Mention Amy Jacobson to receive $500 off any new project. Visit level10coatings.com to schedule today or call 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Can you afford not to have effective video surveillance? Is your outdoor inventory at risk? Theft and vandalism can hit your bottom line hard. Stop these events before they happen. Monitor your business 24/7 with alarm detection systems. We prevent crime with live operators watching video alerts, ensuring your assets and employees are secure. It's not worth the liability when you can effectively protect what matters most. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143. Spending too much on security guards to patrol your property? With rising crime rates, guards may not be enough. And the cost, it's adding up fast. At Alarm Detection Systems, we offer a more innovative solution. Live video monitoring. Cameras provide extra coverage in even the hardest to reach areas. Unlike guards, they never get intimidated. Our operators watch video alerts in real time, cut costs, increase coverage, and stay secure. Call ADS at 1-630-844-6322 or visit adsalarm.com for a free demo. Alarm license number 127000143.
Listen every Sunday morning at 6 for Wyatt Matters. Wyatt Matters takes a lighthearted approach to things that deeply matter by utilizing a casual, interactive talk show format. Sharing some wisdom and creating some laughter. To this end, to get people thinking about what matters. And why it matters. Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer.
All of us need to be prepared to defend ourselves and our families, and we need to start with the less lethal option to avoid the legal complications associated with firearms. Byrna has their less lethal pistol launcher. It is equipped with tear gas and kinetic ammunition. It is designed to incapacitate any attacker for up to 40 minutes. Go to their website, byrna.com/Hannity. Right now, you'll get 10% off. Let me tell you this Byrna story. Bob was at home. An intruder physically forced his way inside. Now, luckily, Bob had just received his Byrna 4 days prior to this incident, and he used it to get the man outside and off of his property. Byrna, it's legal in all 50 states. There's no background check needed. It can be shipped directly to your door. Now, see the powerful technology that is Byrna. Go to their website, byrna.com/Hannity. Right now, you'll get 10% off. That's byrna.com/Hannity today.
Larry Elder sets the record straight.
So Obama and Biden took positions regarding Ukraine and Zelensky that Trump took. Except in Trump's case, unlike Obama, who gave Zelensky sheets and blankets, Trump gave them Javelin missiles. And yet people say that Trump is soft on Russia. You people should listen to more talk radio.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's April 4th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is International Carrot Day. Started in 2003, it's really just a day to celebrate the root vegetable, and California grows the most in the United States, about 85%. Carrots are a good source of fiber and beta-carotene. Also on this day, 1975, Bill Gates and Paul Allen create Microsoft, originally named Microsoft for microprocessors and software. The company is now the world's largest software maker by revenue. At the age of just 31, Bill Gates would become the world's youngest billionaire. In 1969, heart surgeon Denton Cooley implants the first ever artificial heart. The patient survived for 65 hours, but then died while waiting for a human heart. Civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968, killed by segregationist James Earl Ray. And 12 nations signed the North Atlantic Treaty in 1949, also known as NATO. I'm CJ Papa. That's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Maha starts with Virago, making America healthy again. With the worst flu season in years, you need an immune system boost. The stronger your immune system, the stronger your body fights and defends against So get Virago. Virago Immune Enhancement Support is a unique blend of 23 nutraceuticals, ingredients that have been available as individual nutraceuticals, but now working in synergy to maximize their effects. Recommended by medical physicians, dentists, and other healthcare professionals, Virago is the nutraceutical cocktail for immune support. Developed to strengthen your immune system for quick response to immune challenges, for short and long-term immunity, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. It even protects your heart, kidneys, liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Order online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Quality ingredients for optimum health. Maha, making America healthy again starts with Virago.
We always use M13. They can print anything.
They design and price match. M13 does amazing work.
M13 Graphics has helped make our brand stand out. They're definitely the best for less.
Before M13, amateur. With M13, we look awesome.
M13 Graphics, Chicago's leader in full-color design and printing. Set your business up for success with exceptional print products, turned around in just 24 to 48 hours. Business cards, postcards, posters, banners, brochures, apparel, you name it. M13 will design and print nearly anything for your business. They have the right people in place and a reputation that keeps customers happy and coming back for more. They're a Chicago company that embodies the idea of business integrity. They live it every day. After all, in this country, you're free to do business with who you choose. Respect that freedom. Choose the best. For speedy turnaround, excellent service, and the best pricing in Chicagoland, choose M13 Graphics for all your design and printing. Online at M13.com. Visit M13.com or call now, toll free, 877-M13-1913. That's 877-M13-1913. The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling and tell them AM 560 sent you to receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Your business is under attack 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a fact. Small businesses are the low-hanging fruit. You may think you're protected, but you're vulnerable in many ways, and cyber attackers actively prey on small businesses. But Turnkey can protect you. Turnkey is the key to cyber protection. Turnkey has a quick and efficient 12-point evaluation to determine if your business, your profits, are at risk. And right now, for a limited time, Turnkey is offering the first month of service to all new customers free. Peace of mind, free. It includes all Microsoft licensing, antivirus, anti-malware, and completed data backup both on-site and off-site, plus help desk support. Don't leave you, your employees, and your customers vulnerable. Talk to Turnkey. Visit turnkey.pro. 3 decades of experience. That's turnkey.pro. Turnkey, the champion of small business.
Spring. A time to get outside, be active, play with the grandkids, enjoy life. But if high blood pressure is holding you back, the sooner you get control of it, the sooner you'll stop being a walking time bomb. High blood pressure is a serious issue. Your blood vessels are constricted, your mortality risk is high. So what can you do besides take medications with side effects? Well, there's a delicious juice that can help bring your numbers back down. It's called 120 Life, and it has natural ingredients that have shown to lower blood pressure. Yes, a superfood juice is showing amazing results for high blood pressure without the side effects of big pharma medication. Try 120 Life risk-free now with a 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. That's 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout for 15% off.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Jeff Tishlar, author of High Tech versus the Highest Tech, has shared his knowledge of the spectacular things that we see in nature as opposed to what man has created, and how this should inform one's faith. Jeff served on the mission field all over the world and has created this highly illustrated and concisely written technical book. The easy-to-read format is understood from the youngest reader to the most intelligent and mature readers. Google and Amazon book reviews include, "This is the best little book I have ever read. It is amazing how much information is in this book." And a beautifully written and illustrated book. The author has a gift for describing complicated technical details in a very understandable style. This book is available now in paperback on Amazon. Search High Tech versus the Highest Tech by Jeff Tishlar. 100% of proceeds go to missions. That's High Tech vs. the Highest Tech by Jeff Tishlar.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Turning cloudy with a couple of afternoon showers. Our high today, 52. Periods of rain tonight, low 42. Cloudy day tomorrow, the high 54. Clouds on Sunday morning. It'll be partly sunny by afternoon, the high at 51. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Where is the room for negotiation?
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Well, that was quite the bloodletting on Wall Street yesterday. I wouldn't say as anticipated. I think it was worse than most people thought, in part because what Trump rolled out was more aggressive than Wall Street anticipated. But I guess the question, too, with respect to this discussion on tariffs comes down to what exactly do you want accomplished here? Do we want to get to a new world trade order where we see reduction in trade barriers across the board? Or is this about punishing Wall Street on behalf of Main Street and an overdue vengeance to be visited upon the Wall Street money changers?
Well, yeah.
I asked that because our friend Batya Ungar-Sargon, again, we had her on the show just last week, and she's a woman of the left, but she's a Trump supporter. And this is what she had to say on Piers Morgan's show about the tariffs and the impact and the point.
What I find so frustrating about the conversation around tariffs is that we all agree on the problem. We all agree that the deindustrialization of America led to the downward mobility of the American working class, deaths of despair, people working multiple jobs and not being able to afford the American dream. We all agree that it is deeply unfair for the American middle class to be bearing the burden of unfair tariffs from other countries. We all agree that it is great for the president to have leverage in order to demand reasonable things, like that countries stop allowing fentanyl to murder 100,000 Americans every year, and that Mexico do its part to police its own border. And yet when somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you, I am waging war. I am waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class. And you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly, everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected and humiliated American working class over them. We have already seen these tariffs work, Pierce. The number of people crossing the southern border is at zero. Fentanyl is at record lows for the last 10 years. We have already seen $1.2 trillion in manufacturing invested in this country since January 21st. So they have already worked. Now, how long is Wall Street going to keep trying to punish this president for standing the American working class? I don't know, but I can tell you that the view from the street is people cannot believe that there is a president who is working for them, who is putting them first and telling Wall Street to go screw itself. Wall Street, which picked the Democrats for the last 3 election cycles in a row. That's what the real story is here.
Is that the real story? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer and text line.
Well, is there any proof that free trade pays off for American workers, for the middle class that she's talking about, for people who have multiple jobs? I mean, that's, I'm going to try and be patient. But when I looked at my 401k yesterday, it was a little rough. And then I got an email from my Edward Jones guy telling, to be patient or... Like, okay, all right, what, please, let's not stir the pot. But I just, is free trade, does it pay off for American workers? Does anybody have the answer to that? Do we know, or are we just in a holding pattern until we see what happens? I mean, I really thought more countries would be calling Trump and saying, with this reciprocal tariffs, instead of just Vietnam and India, that more countries would be lining up to get a deal done, but they're not.
I'm perplexed. You're complaining about the tariffs' impact on your 401k, vis-a-vis Wall Street, and then you're asking if free trade works. I thought yesterday you were one of the people who were saying we've been getting ripped off. Now you want to explore free trade, which. By the way, I mean, this is not does free trade pay off? This is not exactly unknowable, but I don't even know what question you're asking. What's your position?
I don't, I'm in a holding pattern like everybody else. I voted for Trump, so I want him to succeed. The liberals were smiling yesterday from ear to ear. They want us to lose our 401k. They want people to lose their retirement if they voted for Trump. Even, all over social media. Are you guys happy now you voted for Trump? Getting what you want? I mean, it's...
Well, I with whatever the hoi polloi is saying on the internet is completely irrelevant to intelligent conversation. So I'm
right.
The japes from from keyboard warriors of the left that know nothing is, well, doesn't even warrant comment. So there's a couple things. Well, one is just baseline. First of all, I mean, 41% of corporate revenues are generated overseas. So, does free trade work? We wouldn't be the richest country the world has ever seen without it.
Okay.
Without something, it's not pure free trade, of course, but being a country that is inclined in that direction, as opposed to, although we've had our bouts with protectionism, perhaps we're having another one. That has not gone well, generally speaking. I mean, and it's just sort of simple economic principles, which I won't go through yet again unless I'm compelled to. But so just some basics there. So we understand the number of jobs that are created by companies that are America-based, having plants and facilities in other countries, not just for those countries, but in terms of residual jobs back in this country, the revenues, thus the profitability, thus the ability to hire more, thus the ability to expand. I mean, this, again, is basic stuff that I think most of our listeners get. Secondly, well, 62% of Americans own stock, 87% own equities, 87% with household incomes over $100,000. So it's categorical. So, I mean, people that are cheerleading what a drop in the Dow or people's 401ks getting hammered are like Tim Walz cheerleading their own demise. They're idiots. The one day on the market, even as bad a day as that was, does not a trend necessarily make. We'll talk a little bit later in the show when we get one of our market guys on to talk about this. But you have to put this in context, too, of the funny money run up in the market for the last decade, quantitative easing combined with what we did during COVID. I mean, it's complicated. A lot of layering on of bad policy and bad policies to cover the previous bad policies. There's no question about that. This is why we have the problems that Trump inherited. But the Wall Street piece, I guess my question again, do we have our – I assume that Trump and his team has their eye on the prize, but I'd like a little bit more explicit acknowledgement of that rhetorically from the communicators on the Trump team. Because I want people to keep their eyes on the price. This is not being – even though I'm not a fan of big banks and because they're rent seekers and what Bhatia, our friend Bhatia said about they're siding with big government, big banks and big government. Yes, all of that. But I'm also not Occupy Wall Street. And there was some of that Occupy Wall Street rhetoric bouncing around in what Sargon had to say. So that's number one. Number two, I mean, I say eye of the prize. The eye of the prize is getting to a better place with freer trade going in all directions for the interests of America's prosperity. This is not about seeking vengeance on Wall Street rent seekers. This is about generating wealth and opportunity and prosperity for American families. That's the point here. And I hope that's not getting lost. The other thing, too, we're conflating a bunch of issues. And J.D. Vance, and I listened to Santelli and I listened to Lighthizer interview by Tucker Carlson. They're conflating some issues, too. The first issue that's being conflated, you heard from Sargon, this idea that tariffs have generated border security. Not really. I mean, Tom Homan and a national security apparatus that is interested in securing our border is what's generated border security. Yeah, using tariffs to threaten Mexico and to some extent Canada on this specific issue may have had some impact on the margins in terms of them scrambling some resources, understanding Trump's serious about this. There will be penalties if there is not compliance. Okay, but that's not center cut. And if that was the case, then we wouldn't be talking about the tariff rollout, the Liberation Day rollout. We'd be talking about surgical tariffs targeted at Mexico and Canada for this very specific national security reason. Obviously, this issue is so much more than that. So, the fentanyl and border security thing, and then you throw that, it's sort of a misdirection play. The other is this idea that somehow by being more oriented toward free trade than most of our trading partners, we've run up a $37 trillion debt. I don't understand, because this is one of the conflations that I heard from, people I like, Santelli. Of course, I love Rick Santelli, and J.D. Vance, you'll hear from momentarily. Robert Lighthizer, same thing. We didn't have to run up $37 trillion in debt. And we didn't because we didn't have the reciprocal tariff regime that Trump rolled out on Wednesday. One has not necessarily anything to do with the other. So there's just a lot of stuff that is getting thrown together that doesn't belong together, or dots being connected that actually don't connect. And so I just want to understand where people are at here in terms of what they see and what they're understanding the point of all this is, what they're hopeful the outcome will be, and on what timeline. And we'll take your calls to those ends at 5:38.
But now we have to head into the newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 40 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Senate is voting to advance President Trump's budget plan. On Thursday, senators voted 52-48 on the multi-trillion-dollar package, which calls for steep tax cuts and a spending increase on immigration enforcement. The plan also included an expansion of the Pentagon and a $5 trillion debt limit increase. As promised, President Trump signed new U.S. global tariffs, which could greatly impact Chicago. Here's Perry Williams.
The president announced yesterday that the tariffs would cover a wide range of products from several countries. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says the city could be left devastated.
Chicago is one of the most trade-connected cities with Canada in the United States. And if these disruptions continue, we could see more than 11,000 jobs at risk in our region.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker calls the tariffs a tax on working families who are struggling with the high cost of food, housing, and utilities.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off and free UPS shipping, and add code radio and get an extra 5% off. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Spring is in the air, and that means it's time to check the starting lineup. Leading off for AM 560 every morning at 5, it's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson, followed at 9 by Mike Gallagher. Moving up in the lineup, it's Charlie Kirk, now heard at 11. Then at 2, it's 2 full hours of Hugh Hewitt, followed by Sean Thompson at 4, Seculo at 7, and rounding out the lineup, Larry Elder at 8. Top to bottom, the best lineup in Chicago radio is right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
I think one of the things that patients don't realize is that when they get a joint replacement, that's not a lifetime treatment option. And they're probably, if they are a younger patient, signing up for multiple surgeries down the road.
As a physician and medical director for QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli's seen a pattern of trending joint pain. Prolonged medication, steroids, then surgery, possibly another surgery.
So a lot of our patients are trying to avoid or put off surgery, and this is the treatment that can help them do that.
QC Kinetics extracts your body's healing substances, concentrates them back into your aching joints to help heal and restore those areas, providing lasting relief.
Oh, I love being able to tell my patients, before we do this surgery, let's try another option. Let's see if this is right for you, because now they might not have to have surgery at all.
Call today for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics,
312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Steel walk behind, zero turn, and stand on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, let's go mow.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy, inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 7 minutes. On the outbound side, about 13 minutes. That's due to an earlier accident that was at Armitage. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about 12 minutes. On the outbound side, also about 12 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 14 minutes. Outbound, it's about 14 minutes. Traffic is a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. That's 56david.com, lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds increasing, afternoon showers, high today 52, periods of rain tonight, low 42. Mostly cloudy day tomorrow, the high 54. Clouds on Sunday morning, it'll be partly sunny by the afternoon, high on Sunday at 51. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking about the initial fallout from Trump's tariffs, the largest tariff increases in America in a century. There's some things about the approach, too, that are curious, to say the least. But it's the overall approach that we're talking about at this point. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Here's what J.D. Vance had to say in his sit-down with Fox News about the tariffs.
Well, if you go back a little bit, Lawrence, remember during the first Trump administration, everybody said that Trump's tariffs were going to be inflationary back then. What actually happened? We had 1.5% inflation. We had the fastest growing economy in a generation, and we had the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in the United States of America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. But I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is, fundamentally, it's based on 2 principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity. It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for good jobs in the United States of America. For 40 years, we have gone down that pathway. We've seen closing factories. We've seen rising inflation. We've seen the cost of housing so high that most Americans can't afford to buy a home right now. President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran on that, he promised it, and now he's delivering. And yes, this is a big change. I'm not going to shy away from it, but we needed a big change, Lawrence. We cannot keep going down the Joe Biden globalist pathway where we have $2 trillion of peacetime debt and deficits. We have manufacturing disappearing. That is not working for Americans. We've got to take this country in a different direction.
The manufacturing question is a complicated one, as we've talked about quite a bit over the years, over the last weeks, over the last several days. This idea of spending beyond our means, which we've done, is somehow a direct result of globalization, that somehow increasing tariffs is going to fix.
We have breaking news. China just announced 34% retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. It's just coming down the transom right now.
Yeah, no surprise there. And it's not to say, I mean, it's there's a little bit of mixed messaging here, which I think also has people jittery. On the one hand, it seems pretty clear to me that Trump is willing to deal, and those deals and those potential victories could start happening quickly. In fact, there's already some evidence too. We mentioned yesterday, India and Vietnam, almost preemptively before the rollout. We're talking about reducing tariffs on, I think it was $23 billion worth of goods in India, and it was on rates on specific items. Vietnam mentioned. We have announcements from the automakers. Volvo and GM are going to announce announced more investment in American manufacturing. You're going to have more production at that GM plant in Fort Wayne. They're going to increase their, I think it's light truck production at the assembly plant in Fort Wayne. So you're starting to see Eric Trump saying, countries better get on the phone and call my dad, basically, because the first one is going to do well and the last one is not going to do so well. So clearly there is an eye towards negotiation and deal making here, and Trump said that himself.
Every country's called us. That's the beauty of what we do. We put ourselves in the driver's seat. If we would have asked some of these countries, most of these countries, to do us a favor, they would have said no. Now they'll do anything for us. But we have tariffs, they've been set, and it's going to make our country very rich.
Are you open to deals with these countries if they're calling you?
Well, it depends. If somebody said that we're going to give you something that's so phenomenal, as long as they're giving us something that's good.
Got a text message. Dan and Amy, fund managers are not panicking. The sell-off came from leftist hoard.
There's
so many.
The idea that investors purposely lost billions and billions of dollars of market cap to send them to punish Trump or something is, I think, without foundation.
Okay.
But
wouldn't surprise me. I don't know.
I'm not panicking either. This isn't about panic.
I'm not panicking, but I'm not comfortable, and I don't know why I looked at my 401k, and I don't. Did anybody else look at their 401k yesterday? 312-642-5600. Are we just gonna be in a holding pattern?
John in Libertyville.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I just wanted to call Amy. Go look at the S&P 500 2018 when we had tariffs last time. Given it wasn't as aggressive, but there was a V-shaped recovery following. There is also a bigger play at hand. Many are speculating that Trump is intentionally bringing the stock market down because they want to bring the 10-year yield down. They want to refinance $9 trillion worth of debt, and they want to bring down rates so that they could pay less in interest.
And devalue the dollar too, because
and then bring.
Well, that's also a wildly dangerous game.
It is, but we're in a dangerous situation.
I hope that's not their intention. But go ahead, John.
Well, if you look at it, the 10-year Treasury yield has dropped from 5% to 4% in about a month. This has also brought mortgage rates down. At the same time, it's about 25 basis points that mortgage rates have dropped. Once all interest rates drop, people will be able to take money out, and this will stimulate the economy. So I think it's more than just tariffs, but at the same time, Dan, we didn't have free trade. This could bring us, I think, closer to free trade. But if we have free trade and our trading partners have tariffs on us, it makes more sense for companies to go and build in whatever country we're talking about and then sell back to us without any tariffs. Would you agree on that?
I mean, it's sort of case specific. I wouldn't say that's categorically true. In certain cases, it's clearly true because that's what happened. Yes, that's right. But that's looking at one aspect of trade policy and the impact of tariffs. And by the way, this whole idea of like linking tariffs to good economic times, certainly they exacerbated bad economic times. I think Milton Friedman makes a strong case about Smoot-Hawley during the Depression. But in terms of the V-shaped recovery, even when Trump imposed some tariffs, nothing on the order of what he rolled out this week in his first term. I mean, there's a lot of variables. So you can overcome bad economic policy. America's been overcoming bad economic policy to be relatively prosperous for most of the last century. So it's over. So everything is somewhat overcomable. The question is the opportunity cost you're paying and whether or not you're destroying more than you're creating. I guess that's the way that you have to look at it. But this is why you have to start from a sort of a fundamental understanding of tax policy and trade, what taxes are, and trade policy, and how international trade works or doesn't. Because if you don't have the fundamentals, then you're going to be committing a lot of turnovers. Thanks for the call, John. Brian St. John.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. So I've been saying that during COVID and pre-tariffs that as Americans, we need to actively be looking at the tags of products and just simply not buying anything made in China because of what they did to us. And that's all I got.
All right. Thanks for the call, Brian. I mean, look, people want to voluntarily buy American, look for the American label, buy American, and perhaps pay a little bit more for certain goods. Go ahead. Great. It's like most of our conversations. It's when you start getting into cookie cutter mandates that you run into problems. And by the way, the idea that are we only going to trade with our friends? I mean, is that what you? I mean, it's a question. Do you want to start picking and choosing based on friends? It's interesting because some of our friends are being treated worse than our enemies. So, for example, the way that the administration seems to have calculated the tariff rates on the tote board that Trump unveiled was by dividing its trade deficit with the U.S. by its exports to the U.S. And then they cut that rate in half because Trump wanted to be nice, as he said. Well, the result is that enemies of America, like Iran, are getting hit with the 10% tariff, while friends of America, like Taiwan, Japan, 32%, Japan, 24%, Europe, 20%. And by the way, the UK and Australia have a trade deficit with the United States, and yet they're still hit with the 10% tariff. I thought this was all about trade deficits. So I'm talking about the sort of muddled messaging and, to some extent, thinking about this. Yeah, the big picture stuff, as I articulated yesterday, I get if where I think this is, if where they're attempting to go is where they're actually attempting to go, and I think this, if I understand that, if I'm reading it right, but some of the roadmap to how they're getting there is a bit perplexing. Greg in Rogers Park.
Hi, good morning, Dan, Amy. I just want to say, I think Jelly Belly and Johnson and Franklin Cole and all of them that are belly aching about the tariffs, how it's going to ruin Chicago, Cook County, the state of Illinois, they're just trying to cover up for their own bad economic policy. They're overspending, their waste, their own fraud and abuse. And I think they should be ashamed of themselves. But we, who are uneducated voters or don't look into things, can't see through their scam.
Of course. Of course.
I mean, Johnson talking about Canadian tariffs the guy can't pay his darn water bill for years or parking tickets. I mean, please give me a break.
So Pritzker, Preckwinkle,
Johnson,
BLM Brandon, right. They are decrying taxes and tax increases. Yes. The party of taxes and tax increases. The party that has Illinois with the highest combined state and local tax burden in the country. Yeah. Is lecturing on tax increases. So, I mean, just, let that wash over you. And as Greg said, please relay that little bon mot to your uneducated voter friends. don't see the silliness, the rank hypocrisy of
there are
this
betters.
political class. Yeah. I'm talking about Chicago and Illinois, of course. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yes, I mean, I believe that free trade's important, but don't we have to have fair trade? And what tools is the president to use other than tariffs? I think the main thing that Vance is missing out on is the spending. I mean, we spent ourselves into this hole with unnecessary spending on all kinds of programs. Every wish list item on the liberal agenda, money was put towards. Go down every rabbit hole and then chase every environmental fantasy that they could dream up in their wildest dreams. I mean, you got to cut the spending out too. But I mean, as far as the tariffs are concerned, if they're going to, I think it's totally reasonable to say, if you want to charge us 30%, we're going to charge you 30%. Now, if that levels the playing field, that levels the playing field. And I think this, the unfair notion of China paying their labor slave wages, you can't compete with that. And it's like you say, it's a complicated problem. Yes, the tariffs are going to, I think, work, but one of the bigger parts that they're missing out on is the overspending during COVID. And that's $2 trillion right there that we're spending more than we did 4 or 5 years ago. You get rid of that, and it's gonna change a lot of things.
Thanks for the call, Marvin. Yeah, I mean the whole fair thing, boy, for fairness, that is.
It is fair.
Yeah, really a Pandora's box, including in trade. And I know it sounds like the symmetrical argument: you charge us 30%, we charge you 30%, sounds like the right play, but. Again, taxing something you get less of if one country is hurting their citizens, the response is to hurt our citizens. Oh, boy, it just fails sort of the basic logic test for me. I understand it as a means to an end, as I have repeated often. But I mean, just let's also understand what exactly we're dealing with, and the idea here of central planning as free market type people, conservatives, those skeptical of government at minimum, and the government doing big things like the welfare state and all of the other big gambits that contributed to the $37 trillion in debt and the $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities and the $2 trillion federal 2 million person federal workforce, and and all the violations of sort of any notion of federalism and concerns the founders had about a all-powerful central government. I mean, it just goes on and on. But we're going to set all that aside because our central planners know just which dials to turn and levers to pull. They're great at rate setting. This should be 34%, not 36%. They're just as we trust the government to set wages. I mean, the idea of government being in the business of setting wages and prices and think that this is so precisely scientifically calibrated that the result is knowable within one standard deviation is folly. This is big policies using a meat axe to hash through things to hopefully get to a better place directionally, generally, on the other side. That's the way because of what we've done to ourselves. That's the way it is with tax policy, with regulatory policy, and of course, trade includes tax policy includes trade and tariffs. I just think, what do we always say about the left and what you think a small group of people can do, lording over the lives of 350 million people here and 8 billion worldwide. Let's have a little humility about just how much small groups of people can manage the daily interactions of massive groups of people. Kevin in Boston. Hey, Kevin.
Kevin. Nope. Going once. Going twice. Gone.
Kip in Stillman Valley.
Yeah, good morning. Listen, I think the holding pattern, as Amy puts it, is where to be right now, because we've had 4 years of knowing what would happen the past 4 years, and it hasn't been 4 days yet. It's only been 2. And I think this is going to show us who our friends are, true friends are, and who wants to retaliate. So you guys have a great one. Bye.
All right, Kip. Thanks for the call. Frank in Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. I don't know if you saw this, but Grassley put forward a bill to try and have Congress take back authority over tariffs.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I mean, Congress has been one big simpering mess for a long, long time. They used to decide the tariff rates, but they've been giving up their authority because they're really a bunch of wimps and don't want to face the voters on things. Like with Vietnam, they just gave Johnson the authority to decide the troop levels. And then here they are with the tariffs. They've, since basically the 30s, given the president the authority in various different bills to make these decisions. Just an interesting aspect of this, that we've centered everything in the executive, whether it's the right or wrong policy, the right or wrong level. That's what our hot mess of a Congress has done.
100%. Absolutely salient point to make. Thanks for the call, Frank.
I love Frank.
And so to continue. I mean, the president's authority on national security and trade policy. Yeah, I mean, it has been essentially expanded, as Frank said. But the larger point here is again, you want to concentrate more power in D.C. I mean, to Trump's credit, with DOGE and with the deregulation agenda, he is trying to pare down government. But we see how painstaking that is now that we've gotten it so far beyond our grasp. I just, the folly of central planning. I can't emphasize it enough. Philip in Blue Island.
Oh boy.
Isn't this the same blueprint that led to the Great Depression? And with China doing this 34%, has any trade wars ever led to actual military action?
Well, sure. I mean, I don't know, what comes right immediately to mind is the Opium Wars, the British and the Chinese in the 1850s. But I'm sure there are many other instances that aren't popping in my mind right now. Thanks for the call, Philip. But yeah, of course it can. The one thing I will, add, though, just in defense here, is what Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, said too. These countries whining about the tariff increases. Well, if you don't like tariffs that much, then why do you use them? I mean, don't forget. My criticism is, all of these countries that we don't want to emulate from a policy perspective. The sclerotic, stagnant, socialist countries that are our allies in places like Western Europe. Why would we want to emulate their policies? But to Bessent's point, yeah, you don't complain to us. I mean, if these policies are so poor, why do you pursue them? But what we should say here is, if those policies contribute to such a negative impact in places like Western Europe, then why would we pursue them? At least long term, which I don't think Trump is doing, and that's my out. All right, coming up at 6:06, we'll turn our attention to the murder of that high school football player in Texas, 6:06.
His parents spoke yesterday, and so did his brother. You'll hear it here. It's now 6 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
More money can be lost on Wall Street. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. On top of the more than $2 trillion wiped out yesterday in the biggest stock sell-off since COVID hit in 2020. Stock futures falling again right now. After the Dow's nearly 4% drop, the Nasdaq plunged almost 6% over worries about new U.S. tariffs on just about all imports and other countries' retaliation. But President Trump insisted on Air Force One last night the market will rebound in a manufacturing boom.
There are no tariffs if you build your plant or you build your product, make your product in the U.S.
On the trip to Florida, the president spoke with traveling press and was asked if he would cut a deal to end the tariffs.
It depends. If somebody said that we're going to give you something that's so phenomenal, as long as they're giving us something that's good.
Fallout from the tariffs and market reaction were the hot topics on Capitol Hill. Democrats have been vocal about their opposition, while some key Republicans are giving the president the benefit of the doubt.
That's Fox's Mike Emanuel. Another Trump executive order is being challenged in court. The one requiring states to follow new rules in federal elections. 19 Democratic-led states are fighting back.
The president issued the order last week requiring people give proof of citizenship when registering to vote, and all mail-in ballots have to be received by Election Day. But state attorneys general said the order is an unconstitutional invasion of states' authority to run their own elections. President Trump has said the U.S. has failed to enforce necessary election protection.
Fox's Jill Nato. A flooding disaster looms potentially. Advisories from Texas to Pennsylvania. Areas already hit by nasty weather, especially Tennessee, where Governor Bill Lee says
this is a multi-day severe storm that has already produced tornadoes, heavy rains.
5 people were also killed in Tennessee. Another in Missouri. And a man died in Indiana when he drove over down power lines and then touched one when he got out of the car. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 40 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. All eyes will be on the monthly employment report when it's released this morning. Most analysts expect around 140,000 new jobs, which were created in March versus 151,000 the month prior. The unemployment rate is forecast to hold steady at 4.1%. The Department of Education is warning public K through 12 schools they could lose federal funds unless they comply with orders to eliminate DEI programs. The department has sent letters to state education commissioners warning that DEI programs are discriminatory and a violation of federal statutes. The letter singled out funding given to local school districts under Title I of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Public schools, on average, get around 14% of funding from the federal government. Chicago is welcoming a new tourism leader. Choose Chicago selected Kristen Reynolds to lead the city's tourism marketing agency. She served the past 10 years as CEO of New York's Discover Long Island. Reynolds gets the job despite Chicago Mayor Johnson urging board members to hire Deputy Mayor Kenya Merritt, who has no experience in tourism. Reynolds will start her job on May 5th. 2 men are accused of gunning down a woman as she held her baby on the west side and are found guilty of murder. A Chicago Cook County judge convicted Michael Washington and Eric Adams of killing Brittany Hill in March of 2019. Hill's family is suing the city of Chicago for leaking the video of her death. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher knows what normal Americans are thinking.
Do Democrats feel comfortable defending horrific, thug, animalistic gang members like Tren Diaragua? And the truth of the matter is, normal Americans aren't on the side of the Democrats on this. And I wonder if Democrats are sitting around saying, what are we doing?
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
The fight against abortion in Illinois has never been more important than it is right now. Thanks to our elected officials, Illinois has become an abortion tourism destination. The number of abortions in our state continues to grow, despite the fact that crisis pregnancy centers outnumber abortion clinics almost 3 to 1. Now, thanks to a new effort by Caring Network, it's possible to reach abortion-minded women to provide peace of mind and security to help them choose life. This new Reach Her First initiative seeks to provide women with the assurance and information they need before they choose an abortion. But Caring Network needs your help to reach women who are considering abortion. For a one-time gift of just $150, you can help reach 5 women and help them choose life. That's all it takes to prevent an abortion. To make that gift, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service came to an end after a chemical exposure caused a large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he is paralyzed on the left side of his body, legally blind, prone to memory loss, and in a wheelchair. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation built this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. Help heroes like Jesse Clark. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Why do so many companies count on Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating? Consistent high level of quality, an ISO certified and A2LA accredited heat treating, electroplating, fastener sorting, and packaging job shop. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating meets and exceeds client specifications. Whether a high volume or a small production run, their processes ensure a job well done. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this year, they specialize in metal fasteners and stampings for automotive and other industries. And with a newly expanded sorting department, there are many sorting and packaging options to meet your needs. Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating serves customers in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Tennessee, with easy access to all forms of transportation from an automated facility in Riverdale, Illinois, just 15 minutes southwest of Chicago. Want consistent quality? Call Riverdale Plating and Heat Treating, 708-849-2050, or visit RiverdalePHT.com.
Taking a look at the roadways from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 10 minutes. Outbound, about 36 minutes. Going to be very slow from Hubbard Street Tunnel to Sacramento. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the post office, about 13 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 16 minutes. Outbound, it's about 15 minutes. Traffic's a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. That's 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Turning cloudy with a couple of afternoon showers. Our high today, 52. Periods of rain tonight, low 42. Cloudy day tomorrow, the high 54. Clouds on Sunday morning. It'll be partly sunny by afternoon, the high at 51. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Something that Austin Metcalf's father said yesterday on Fox News struck me as timely comments. It's not a new problem, but it is a persistent one. Perhaps it's getting worse. It's certainly being exacerbated by the DC press corps and the left in generally, who platform leftist violence as the means of political resistance. And we're seeing this in spectacular fashion, not just limited and not limited to the Tesla vandals either. But before we get to Mr. Metcalf, recount the story that we talked about a bit at the end of yesterday's show. So Austin Metcalf and his brother Hunter, they're twins. They're also football players, and they're track athletes as well, track and field athletes. They were at a track meet. There was a argument between Austin Metcalf and another athlete.
From a different school, yeah.
From a different school. And then, Hunter Metcalf, his brother, was there, was an eyewitness, tried to save his brother Austin's life.
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move." And he's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest. So just that's just what I saw. And I tried to help him, but
it was just senseless.
It was really senseless. Really, I don't know why a person would do that to someone just over that little argument. It's just crazy in this world nowadays how people just up and do that. Like that man has a family. That man has people that care about them all the time, and he did everything for our family too. He was a strong man. He was a strong kid.
Hunter then went on Fox with his mom, and
did you see him on Will Kane? Oh my God, it was.
And then I saw him about to fall. I would go over there. I grabbed him. I see. Stop.
Yeah, I understand. Best I can.
Yeah, there was. You can see. You can picture what happened when what was coming out of his chest, and
yeah.
Y'all can visualize other stuff. I don't want to put down my mom right now, but I pushed my hand on there, trying to make it stop, and I grabbed his head and I looked in his eyes. I just saw his soul leave, and it took my soul too.
He took my soul too. Identical twins, best friends, played every sport together. They were, they had a relationship that only twins can understand. And his mom during that interview broke down so many times, and Will Kane broke down because he lives, he was just at a track meet in Frisco, Texas, the day before that happened at the same school. But it sickens me. It's such a preventable crime. Like it was so stupid why that kid got out a knife and just stabbed him in the heart because he told him he was sitting in the wrong seat in a tent. It's just, go on. I'm sorry.
So Austin Metcalf's dad was later on Fox. Mom is not ready to talk about forgiveness, but Dad volunteered that. We talked about it at the end of the show. He volunteered within hours of his son's murder, and he provided a little bit more color on it yesterday and why he's speaking out publicly. He also recounted the community outpouring of support for his family. There was a vigil that was held in Austin's honor, which was nice. But Mr. Metcalf.
He is loved. Last night there was a vigil, very impromptu vigil at our church, Hope Fellowship. Over 1,700 people plus showed up. The outreach of this community, family, friends, people who don't even know me, has been overwhelming. I rely heavily on my faith to get me through this. Like I said, people ask me, how can you forgive what to this other person? I said, I forgive the other person because the forgiveness is not for him. The forgiveness is for me, so I can have peace. His life is destroyed. My life is destroyed. It's an unfortunate, tragic to affect us for the rest of our lives. I want to get the word out so maybe parents can educate their children to where this doesn't happen to someone else. Senseless acts of violence in this world have become more, I don't want to say acceptable, but I think today's society is more calloused to all the things.
Yeah, that last part in particular, that society is more callous to senseless acts of violence, desensitized maybe, and specifically when, and we talked about this with Mangione too, when somehow political context is important to contextualize acts of barbarism. That's really the point I'm getting to, and there are other examples. We have to put somebody murdering somebody in a political context. Luigi Mangione killed that United Healthcare CEO, murdered him. But, well, you have to understand. No. Understand what? That he had a policy disagreement about how the healthcare sector works in this country? What's to understand? Well, you have to understand. What's to understand?
If they ever say but or well, you have to, Nope.
But that whole literally, when you have politicians being asked about these attacks on Tesla owners and Tesla cars, is this a legitimate part of the resistance? And you get some mealy-mouthed silliness, and they have to be asked. I'm waiting for someone on the left to preemptively stand up and say, people that are targeting Teslas and committing crimes to protest Elon Musk's role at Doge or any other political issue, but that's not legitimate. You should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And there are examples after examples after examples. It's the same thing with respect to people in this country illegally. And you know, arguing about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, essentially, when you get into talking about, well, the people Trump, the people that Trump is targeting are not all Tren de Aragua gangbangers, and you know, and
some are M13.
MS-13, yeah, right. You can't just look at tattoos. Not that they are just looking at tattoos, but if you're not a member of Tren de Aragua, do you go get a Tren de Aragua tattoo? It seems unlikely, but whatever. The point is, it's always sort of contextualized and rationalizing and being an apologist for acts of barbarism.
But how are they going to rationalize
and it's so much
this?
of it is, and so much of it is from a political position. And to some extent, you even have that here in this case. Nobody's rallying to the defense of this kid who stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf, of course, but they're downplaying it. They're downplaying. Well, yes, that's one way they're downplaying it, is you're not getting a whole lot of coverage of this. That's number one, and the other reason. And that leads to the other way they're downplaying it and why they're not getting a lot of coverage, because
he's black.
Because the
killer
assailant
is
black, and Austin was white.
Right. And real quick, if you look at their last social media postings, Austin Metcalf's, he's celebrating God. He says, faith that God gave me, I love all this hard work has paid off, because he was celebrating that he was announced linebacker of the year and team MVP for football. And then this guy, I don't even want to say his name. Do you want me to say his name? This alleged killer is holding it looks like an assault rifle or a rifle, whatever you want to call it. It's a long gun. And he's also flipping off the camera with his hat on backwards and all that stuff. So
Associated Press, just compare and contrast, and this is the way they downplay.
Okay.
Associated Press story about, you'll probably remember it because this was heavily covered. The white man who pleaded guilty to shooting a black teen who rang a wrong doorbell dies. The AP story on Austin Metcalf's death. Yeah. Police say a 17-year-old was fatally stabbed by another student at a Texas track meet. The man pleads guilty to shooting teen who rang a wrong doorbell, dies. It could have gone that way, right. But race was important there, and it's not important in this case in Texas, to no surprise. And this is happening in other ways too, where you have to sanitize the barbaric acts. Well, you don't have to. They choose to sanitize the barbaric acts of people who are in protected classes, at least in their minds, and frankly, actually, under the law in many instances. We just got the final police report on the the trans person who shot and killed, what was it, 6 people at Covenant School in Nashville?
Yeah. Teachers.
And the police conclude that Covenant was targeted because the attacker believed that it was a he, right? That was.
It was a she that was converting to a he.
It was a she that was pretending to be a he.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. She would receive greater notoriety by murdering young children. Except we got parts of the manifesto where she expressed her hatred of Christianity and people with quote-unquote white privilege, which she believed hindered her development. She wrote that, quote, that she wanted to, quote, kill crackers going to private fancy schools. That's not the same thing as saying, I'm going to kill children because I want notoriety.
That's completely different.
Parents actually believe religion can change nature, she wrote. That could explain why I don't practice religion anymore. Let kids think for themselves. Listening to parents does no damn good but to mold their premature minds into a pre-formatted program. She hated Christianity and more expression of that. And it goes on. But point is, they have to sanitize. Oh, it's just a deranged girl who wanted notoriety, and none of the other actual facts that go to an understanding of what happened and may raise some red flags about certain cultural trends. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Nate in Bridgeport.
How much you want to bet this kid's been in trouble before? He's probably been bonded out at least 3 or 4 times.
Well, I don't know if he has a record or what it would be.
He's still a minor too. I mean, he's 17, but I think, is he going to be charged as an adult? We don't know. I mean, I don't know if we have access to his priors. If he has priors.
He's been charged with first-degree murder.
Okay. Yeah.
Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, you guys are stealing my thunder about the hypocrisy. But one of the things that piggyback off this last caller, this kid, there's no way this is his first-time incident. And the only way this stuff is going to stop is anybody who had anything involved with covering up this kid's priors, if there were any, and downgrading anything, and not preventing this in any way, shape, or form, need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law and civilly. If the school he went to had prior knowledge of incidents of violence and they covered it up in any capacity, that school should be sued for every penny they have.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Another example. Remembering Nate Baker, community mourns loss of Glen Allen native killed in hit-and-run crash. Anyway, well, that's an unfortunate story out of California. Well, yeah, as per usual, as in the AP story on Austin Metcalf's death, they leave out or bury the lead here.
Was he here illegally?
21-year-old Nate Baker was killed in a hit-and-run crash while he was away at University of South Carolina Wednesday afternoon. He was driving his motorcycle into an intersection when he was struck by a pickup truck. Police say the driver of that truck fled the scene, later captured and identified as a 24-year-old. He is wanted by ICE. Yesterday, this from the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security. Yesterday, a 21-year-old USC student, South Carolina, Nate Baker, was driving a motorcycle hit by a truck who fled the scene. The hit-and-run driver was in our country illegally. Nate should be alive today.
God, they just picked him up a few hours earlier, a day earlier.
Yeah, and he was he also was driving without a license.
Of course.
In addition to already being wanted by ICE.
We all know who's here illegally driving cars in Chicago. They don't even stop at stoplights. They'll kind of roll through. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And what do we have?
Nobody cares.
In response, what do we have going on in response? You have the left rallying around and fighting against the deportations of people in this country legally, even when they pay modest lip service to, well, of course, if they're convicted violent criminals, of course, if they're a public safety threat. But that's not what they do. What they do is rally around these gangbangers. Elie Mystal, the fat Don King you see on MSNBC sometimes, we brought him to you before. He's out on a little press junket touting his new trash book. He's a lawyer.
About their status. And just to slightly push back on Mark, even if you tell me and you prove that they're gang members, I'm not so sure that I'm okay with them being sent off to be tortured in a foreign country, but I'll leave that aside.
So even if they're proven to be gangbangers, you can't send them to prison in El Salvador.
Please. Trump can and he will and he did. And he's going to again, so...
And
why are we protecting these thugs and these
leaders
rapists?
of 13 Southern Baptist ethnic groups have approved a joint statement on immigration seeking religious liberty protections, compassion without demonization, and enforcement options, including fines or other penalties in lieu of deportation. So you have leaders of the Southern Baptist Church who are also flacking for people in this country illegally. And none of these people are going to issue a statement about Nate Baker. I'll guarantee you that. Or any of the other hundreds of people who've been killed, thousands who've been violated in violent ways by people in this country who shouldn't be here. No statements there. Bloomington, Minnesota. Just going back to the Tesla thing, yet another example. This contextualizing barbarism. Just an inability of so many, even if you're not necessarily on the left, you just can't bring yourselves. You've been so sort of beaten over the head with identitarianism. There's special rules for special people. Bloomington, Minnesota, police chief there, Booker Hodges, talking about a woman who goes by the pronoun they, which of course Chief Hodges dutifully abides, who was caught vandalizing a Tesla.
Bloomington, Chief Hodges here. Showed you this video last week of this person scratching his Tesla. And like SpongeBob said here, 1 day later, thanks to everybody's help, we were able to identify them. The suspect here is a woman in their late 20s. They turned themselves in. They were brought in with their family. They've been fully cooperative. The victim in this case just wanted their car fixed, and they just wanted the suspect to pay for that. Based on the totality of the circumstances here, and along with our core value of being compassionate, this is the best outcome for everybody involved in this case. But let me be clear here. In Bloomington, you probably have never heard me utter these words. The suspect in this case may have been a victim, and I mean victim in terms of the rhetoric that is being spewed out here by some of those in leadership. We need our leaders to start leading and stop feeding this rhetoric. People should be able to drive whatever car they want without fear of going into a store and someone scratching their car or people yelling at them because of the car that they choose to drive. It's time for all of us, just to start getting along and knock this stuff off, man. People should be able to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so you commit a crime that the left approve of and you don't get to go to jail and you're the victim because you're LGBTQ plus?
Well, I don't know which direction he's going when he's talking about leaders, but let's just take it in the light most favorable to him, which is to say he's calling on people that are legitimizing acts of violence against Teslas and Tesla owners as a legitimate form of protest and resistance. But I'm sorry, Chief, what are you saying? Jasmine Crockett made her do it? I mean, what is that?
Come on.
She's an adult. And, she's getting a pass. If she pays for the repairs, then no ticket, no charges, no nothing. One of the ways people start leaving people other people alone, Chief, is by punishing them when they don't. in violation of the law. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, she didn't even get charged with a misdemeanor for doing that.
That's this is sort of a concept I'm surprised would evade a law enforcement officer. George in Naperville.
Yeah, Dan, you're 100% right with the way they sanitize things. Mostly peaceful riots and Summer of Love. Nobody's called to account for what they're doing.
Well, this is called peaceful vandalism, guys. Don't you think?
Yeah, just like looting with symbolic takings.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. John, downtown.
Yeah, Dan, there's going back to the Austin case, there doesn't seem to be enough texture publicly, because certainly if this was a sound situation, then the other guy is well within his right to defend himself.
Which situation? Which I missed that. Which case?
The football player that got stabbed.
Oh, the stab. Yeah.
Yeah. There's he grabbed him. They're on public property, so clearly the football player grabbed the other guy first to escort him out of or whatever it be. But it's there's a little bit more to it, I think, than that.
Well, that's not what his. I mean, I'm going by eyewitness accounts. That's not what his brother said. He said he grabbed his backpack
and opened it up.
Was his backpack attached to his back, or was his backpack laying on the bench?
I don't know. I don't know. But asking you to leave, then having words and grabbing his backpack, that is. I mean, are you suggesting that stabbing him in the chest is he had a reasonable fear for his life, or a reasonable fear of serious bodily harm, and so stabbing him was self-defense?
No, I'm not saying that that's the correct action. I'm just saying it's a big football player coming at you, and it's not necessarily
He's
like
big
it's
too.
not to gate that.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
according to witnesses, besides
John.
the brother, Anthony, the alleged killer, said, touch me and see what happens, because he asked him to move, because every team has their own tent, and he was in the wrong tent. So he asked him to move, and Anthony said, touch me and see what happens, according to a witness. And then touching somebody doesn't mean you get out a knife and stab them in the chest. Obviously, this is ridiculous.
I mean, there was the report is that there were a lot of track and field athletes on scene that saw it. So I'm sure that his brother's account will not be the only eyewitness account. Right. But short of Austin initiating a fight where he had the assailant had a reasonable fear for his life or serious bodily harm, no chance. And by the way, as I mentioned before, he's already been charged with first-degree murder, so prosecutors have made their determination, at least their initial one.
Yeah, well, he told police he did it, too. When they took him, he's like, yeah, I did it, when they took him into custody. So obviously, the evidence is right there, so.
Coming up at 6:36, anybody want to do anything about this problem in the K-12 government school system of adults preying on children? Naperville, the latest case, 6:36.
Neuqua Valley. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 40 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says the tariffs imposed on other countries are having the desired effect, and he's now open to negotiations. Speaking to reporters on board of Air Force One, Trump said his initial tariff plan is over and he's watching it settle in. He says every country has called asking to cut a trade deal with the U.S. to avoid the tariffs. Trump added he's seen an uptick in plans to bring manufacturing plants back to the U.S. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron is calling on all European nations to stop investing in the U.S. because of the Trump administration's tariffs. Severe weather is ongoing as a storm system drops significant rainfall throughout the central U.S. At least 10 people have died as a result of storms and tornadoes that have broken out since Wednesday, including 5 fatalities in Tennessee. Dangerous floods have been reported along with Arkansas, Kentucky, and Illinois. Over 24 highways have been blocked by floodwaters in Kentucky, while emergency water rescues are ongoing in Nashville. More than 100,000 customers are without power, mostly in Michigan. Large hail and damaging winds remain a threat for Mid-South, and the National Weather Service says some areas could see more than 15 inches of rain. News is a service of Oaklawn Home Show. Hey homeowners, make your home a dream home. See the latest home improvement products and speak with experts at the free admission home show this weekend in Oaklawn. For details, visit oaklawnhomeshow.com today. That's oaklawnhomeshow.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder doesn't expect to see any judges impeached.
Altogether, there have been 15 federal judges who have been impeached. None was impeached for making bad judicial decisions, using wrong-headed interpretations of precedents, or unpopular judicial decisions. Not one.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Take control of your dialysis journey with Vitality Dialysis, where home dialysis meets personal freedom. Manage your dialysis treatments from the comfort of home. No more tedious traveling to clinics nor adjusting your life around the clinic's hours. With Vitality Dialysis, you'll spend less time traveling, less time feeling sick, and more time living life on your terms. Their cutting-edge home dialysis program and innovative home treatment technology gives you the flexibility, independence, and greatly improved personalized care that you deserve. The expert clinical team at Vitality Dialysis provides comprehensive in-home training, along with equipment, supplies, labs, and medications. This includes 24/7 support and ongoing monitoring and guidance so you feel safe and supported. Plus, it's covered by most insurance plans. Visit vitalitydialysis.com to schedule your personalized consultation. That's vitalitydialysis.com or call 224-367-6162. Your health, your home, your way. Vitality Dialysis.
This Easter, treat your family to a day they'll never forget with brunch at the Trump International Hotel and Tower, Chicago. Brunch reservations are available now for Easter Sunday, April 20th, with seatings from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Grand Ballroom. Experience an exquisite meal in a buffet style, feast at the decadent carving, crepes, and dessert stations. Enjoy family entertainment, complimentary beer and wine, and a visit from the Easter Bunny for memorable photos, plus an egg hunt and interactive train rides for the kids. There's no better place to celebrate Easter Sunday than as guests of Trump Chicago, where you'll find the most iconic views of the Chicago skyline. Brunch reservations are available now for Easter Sunday, April 20th, with seatings from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the Grand Ballroom. Delight in this one-of-a-kind extravaganza. Make your reservations today by visiting eventbrite.com and search Easter Brunch, Trump Chicago. That's Eventbrite and search Easter Brunch, Trump Chicago, and order your tickets today. Once again, that's eventbrite.com and search Easter Brunch, Trump Chicago. Happy Easter.
Steel, walk-behind, zero-turn, and stand-on mowers are built to get the job done. Shop online or at your local Steel dealer. Steel, Let's go, Mo.
Taking a look at the roadways from the Team Hawkesbury Traffic Center, the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, 10 minutes. Outbound, about 36 minutes. Going to be very slow from Hubbard Street Tunnel to Sacramento. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the post office, about 13 minutes. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, about 16 minutes. Outbound, it's about 15 minutes. This report is sponsored by Rocket. Rocket is giving every home one address. Rocket.com, a single seamless homeownership platform to help you find, buy, sell, finance, and even refinance your home. Everything you need, all under one roof. Visit Rocket.com, the new home for all things homeownership. Rocket, own the dream. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds increasing, afternoon showers, high today 52, periods of rain tonight, low 42, mostly cloudy day tomorrow, the high 54, clouds on Sunday morning, it'll be partly sunny by the afternoon, high on Sunday at 51. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The K through 12 government school system. Last week it was that Downers South teacher. We got the police body cam video of her arrest.
Yeah.
She was allegedly having an inappropriate sexual relationship with a minor student under her charge at Downers Grove South. Another case. Another Carol Shakeshaft report. I'll say it again until and unless somebody in some distant place actually who has some authority takes this up. 25 years now, just about, since her report, we have known, and with each passing day, the real-world evidence continues to back it up, that 1 in 10 children in K through 12 will be sexually assaulted by an adult in the system. That's 1 in 10 is roughly 5 million children.
And what are our lawmakers doing about it? Oh, they want to pass a bill to intrude and insert themselves in your homeschooling and not focusing on this issue. Okay.
Well, nobody does. And it doesn't matter how many hundreds of sexual abuse complaints are filed against CPS teachers, just for example, since that's the big system. And since we just all signed up for another $1 billion teacher's contract.
1.5.
And the Shakeshaft report, again, a researcher within the last several years went back to try to validate her results, and his conclusion was that 1 in 10 may be underreporting, underestimating the incidence of sexual assault of children by adults in government K through 12 systems across the country. And yet these stories are greeted as, did you hear? And then people just move on as if there's sort of nothing generally wrong. It's the one bad apple. And yet, and certainly the media, the corporate media, pays no attention to it other than the sort of appealing to prurient interest for one newscast, sort of the police blotter story of the day. But sees nothing troubling about what's actually happening in K through 12 education. And so now we've got a story out of Naperville.
Did you see a picture of this guy? Oh my God.
Naperville High School student charged with grooming and sexual abuse of a student. This is a 56-year-old dude from LaGrange who was arrested yesterday. Investigation into anonymous tip revealed inappropriate electronic messages between the teacher and his students sent between November of last year and March of this year as well as evidence of inappropriate physical contact between the two in December of last year. He's been charged with multiple felonies, including aggravated criminal sexual abuse and grooming charges. District 204 statement. The blah, 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 police department has blah, blah, blah. We've been arrested. We became aware, blah, blah, blah. Receiving information, started investigation, put him on administrative leave, reported the allegations to police. We'll be providing services at school for any student who may need support, and safety is our priority, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm.
I love it. They say he began teaching in 2013 after passing a background check. So we're not culpable. We're not responsible. Mm-hmm. And it's never just one. Like I bet that female, I was talking to somebody who's trying to enhance the Illinois grooming law, and she'll be on the show next week. But that teacher, you know, it's not just one victim, and they think other people are going to come forward.
Maybe I don't know.
But we don't know. Or with this guy too, we don't know.
The case of which we haven't mentioned, been wanting to bring this in now, seems an opportune time. Are people familiar with the case of Brittany Fortenberry in Indiana? High school teacher. Well, I'll let the local affiliate give you a quick summary.
Dozens of new charges are filed against a former Morgan County teacher. This is just south of Indianapolis. Brittany Fortenberry is accused of sexually abusing multiple boys, some as young as 13. Court paperwork states Fortenberry gave teens drugs and then had group sex with them. In one incident, a victim said Fortenberry allegedly spent $600 for various purchases and then had sex with the students while making them wear the mask from the movie Scream. Fortenberry allegedly told the teens she would kill herself if they reported anything.
Just another one-off? I mean, think about, you have a system that is dominated by the left. Mostly by, and this is not an indictment of all teachers, so please don't, this is talking generally about a problem that represents a fraction of teachers, but it's a big enough problem that you're talking about maybe as many as 5 million or more kids out of a system of 50 million nationwide. So this is what, all the contextual factors, but dominated by the left, usually, well, it's just not usually, generally speaking, they are the poorest students in college. The worst students in college, the education majors, if that's, for those that are education majors going to education. What sort of Politburo structure these systems operate under. And now the worst students coming out of some of the worst colleges and the worst departments in those colleges that are beset by identitarian politics and obsessed with DEI and obsessed with putting LGBTQIA plus propaganda everywhere and personnel in front of the classroom. Is that part of it? Now, to be fair, so much of this that's transpired in the last 20 years comes after the Shake Shaft report that had identified this problem, previously. The report came out in the early 2000s. So it was already there. Perhaps it's being exacerbated, perhaps not. But it still speaks to the problem in government K through 12 education generally that we've known about for a long time. But, other than the pro forma background checks, what is really being done in most of these schools to change the culture, other than to make them more command control, less creative, certainly less effective in preparing students for high school, college, and beyond? That's for sure. We know that the data there is also irrefutable. Not to mention, like we discussed earlier this week, talked to some professors at colleges and universities around the country who have some longitudinal perspective on the kind of students they're seeing today at freshmen or sophomores in their colleges, universities, as compared to 10, 20, 30 years ago. And as Amy said, and here in Illinois, the focus is on trying to regulate homeschooling families. Of course.
Who have much stronger reading and math skills than anybody in public school.
Mark in Oak Lawn.
Dan, thanks for taking my call. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Mark.
You know, it's almost like when I hear about these stories, Pritzker and his minions, Kelly Cassidy, they're trying to put a law in where they're going to bring prostitution to Illinois. I mean, that's the debauchery of the state, and everything is all these crazy actions. They're trying to normalize everything, and it's almost like the old cliche, misery loves company. They're trying to bring everybody into the debauchery and the corruption, and you're supposed to be a part of it, and that's what they're trying to do with the schools.
It came out with MAPS, minor attracted people.
Yes.
That's how it starts, and then it's going to devolve into, then that might be legalized. No more pedophilia.
Well, you also
be
have
normalized.
You also have the legislation to relax the post-incarceration restrictions on convicted sex offenders. Yes, the attempt. It's not been formally decriminalized, but the attempt to normalize pedophilia and ultimately decriminalize it if you normalize it. Well, that would certainly help out some of these teachers in your government schools, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. At least not to face repercussions under the law. I don't know if God forbid that ever happened, you're going to see some vigilante justice. I'll tell you that right now. Yep. And I'd be pretty empathetic with it if that's what happened.
We'd become the sex trafficking capital in the country.
You have the dildos at Francis Parker.
Oh, the butt plugs, dear.
Butt plugs. Maybe dildos was the other semester. I'm not sure. You got to break up those practicums, but just all of it, all of the sexualization that goes on, and it reached perhaps a fever pitch over the last decade, but it was still there. I mean, it wasn't like these were all of these government schools in the 90s or 2000s were, bastions of immersion in Western civilization and incubators of character and virtue. And yet, we love our schools. We moved here for the schools. Don't criticize the schools. Don't look into the schools. Don't tell us what's happening in the schools. I don't want to hear. I don't want to see. And I certainly don't want to do. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Hey there. We are MS Consulting Services. Old school IT consulting with cutting-edge results. We're a firm that is genuinely excited and proud to serve our clients. We entered the business world nearly 30 years ago and have since shared our expertise with clients nationwide. We specialize in system administration for legacy operating systems like OpenVMS and Unix, providing continuity assurance for your staff and systems. Our focus on personal connections helps establish lasting relationships, offering a deeper sense of fulfillment, all while maintaining a stable IT infrastructure. Seem like a nice change of pace? Check us out. You'll know what we're all about after just one call. Give us a ring at 1-800-MIT-0404 or visit mscsinc.com. Again, that's 1-800-MIT-0404 or visit mscsinc.com.
Speaking of leftist violence, too, as we were a little bit ago, you got to see this video of a woman working for Live Action, interviewing a pro-abortion woman, and then she presses her on her views.
Yeah.
And the woman hauls off and hits her hard, like violently assaults her. I'll send it out.
Can you
because
tweet it out?
I think they're still looking for the person that committed this assault, but it speaks to what we're talking about.
But they accept violence now. It's like being silent is being violent about the violence. I mean, no one's coming forward and saying, "Hey, you know what? This looks bad for our party. Stop keying Teslas and throwing Molotov cocktails."
Violence is not violence, but silence is violence.
Yes,
Got
exactly.
You've heard us talk about our campaign this spring with the Caring Network. They're a local pro-life organization based here in Chicagoland. And they're working to prevent abortions in Illinois by reaching abortion-minded women with a message of life and hope. But they need your help to do that. Illinois has become a destination for abortion tourism. As neighboring states have restricted abortion, more women are coming here. The number of abortions in Illinois, in fact, has doubled in less than 7 years. Caring Network is committed to reaching the abortion-minded woman, the woman who gets pregnant unexpectedly and is likely to go to a Planned Parenthood or another abortion provider to end her pregnancy. Caring Network needs your help to reach her first. You can help the effort by making a one-time donation of $150. That amount will make it possible for Caring Network to reach 5 women who are considering abortion. They provide services like telehealth counseling with a nurse, or they can schedule an in-person appointment to show a pregnant woman or baby on an ultrasound. To learn more and to make a donation to Caring Network, just go to 560theanswer.com/caring. That's 560theanswer.com/caring.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com.
We always use M13. They can print anything.
They design and price match. M13 does amazing work.
M13 Graphics has helped make our brand stand out. They're definitely the best for less.
Before M13, amateur. With M13, we look awesome.
M13 Graphics, Chicago's leader in full-color design and printing. Set your business up for success with exceptional print products. Turned around in just 24 to 48 hours. Business cards, postcards, posters, banners, brochures, apparel, you name it. M13 will design and print nearly anything for your business. They have the right people in place and a reputation that keeps customers happy and coming back for more. They're a Chicago company that embodies the idea of business integrity. They live it every day. After all, in this country, you're free to do business with who you choose. Respect that freedom. Choose the best. For speedy turnaround, excellent service, and the best pricing in Chicagoland, choose M13 Graphics for all your design and printing. Online at M13.com. Visit M13.com or call now, toll free, 877-M13-1913. That's 877-M13-1913.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, ladies, single ladies, listen up. All you single ladies?
Oh, you single ladies? Oh, you single ladies? I'm singing with you.
Okay, honky Beyonce. Joy Pullman joins us at 7:07 to tell us how women can be more marriageable.
Okay, thanks. It's now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Another plunge is brewing this morning on Wall Street.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Dow futures are falling 1,400 points after dropping more than 1,600 yesterday in the biggest sell-off since 2020. The Nasdaq lost almost 6% on fears new U.S. tariffs will hurt the economy worldwide, but President Trump insists
the markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom.
Saying on Air Force One last night flying to Florida, the tariffs will lead to a surge in U.S. manufacturing.
We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country.
And his administration is echoing that line, even as the impacts keep coming. This morning, China announcing retaliatory tariffs of 34% effective April 10th. The president's aides maintain the strategy will work and the fallout will be short, despite recession warnings from some economists.
That's Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. President Trump also says these tariffs give him great negotiating leverage, perhaps even with TikTok.
China will probably say, we'll approve a deal, but will you do something on the tariff?
Well, the president says he's close to working out a deal to get TikTok to cut ties to its Chinese parent company ahead of a deadline to sell by tomorrow, or the social media app could be banned in the U.S. because of concerns about Chinese surveillance of Americans using TikTok and manipulation of content. The president could extend that deadline again. South Korea's impeached president's been formally removed from office by the country's constitutional court, ruling unanimously that the president illegally declared martial law.
Recent months have seen millions of Koreans turn out in public to either support or oppose Yoon Suk-yeol. Yoon says his martial law decree was to bring attention to what he calls the wickedness of the opposition Democratic Party.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. More severe storms could hit today. Texas to Kentucky after days of nasty weather, tornadoes. Tennessee got hit hard. Governor Bill Lee says there's a lot of damage.
Many families displaced, loss of life.
5 people were killed in Tennessee, 2 more deaths in Missouri and Indiana, and there's a threat of widespread flooding Texas to Pennsylvania. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 41 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Former President Barack Obama says that the Trump administration's inhibiting free speech. Obama spoke Thursday at Hamilton College in New York and says he doesn't think the new Trump tariffs are good for America. He also spoke out against Trump's recent orders targeting law firms and said that kind of behavior is contrary to the basic concepts we have as Americans. All eyes will be on the monthly unemployment report when it's released this morning. Most analysts expect around 140,000 new jobs to be created in March versus the 151,000 the month prior. The unemployment rate is forecast to hold steady at 4.1%. The president believes TikTok is close to being sold. Chinese-based ByteDance was granted a 75-day extension from its original January 19th deadline to divest or face a permanent U.S. ban. He also floated the idea of using the new U.S. tariffs against China as a bargaining chip in a possible deal. Illinois is joining a lawsuit filed over President Trump's executive order that attempts to reshape elections in the U.S. State Attorney General Kwame Raoul and 18 other attorneys general are suing the administration, claiming the order signed last month is an unconstitutional attempt to impose sweeping voting restrictions across the country. The suit seeks to block certain aspects of the order, including a requirement that Americans provide proof of citizenship to register to vote. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Spring is in the air, and that means it's time to check the starting lineup. Leading off for AM 560 every morning at 5, it's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson, followed at 9 by Mike Gallagher. Moving up in the lineup, it's Charlie Kirk, now heard at 11. Then at 2, it's 2 full hours of Hugh Hewitt, followed by Sean Thompson at 4, Seculo at 7, and rounding out the lineup, Larry Elder at 8. Top to bottom, the best lineup in Chicago radio is right here on AM 560. The Answer.
All of us need to be prepared to defend ourselves and our families, and we need to start with the less lethal option to avoid the legal complications associated with firearms. Byrna has their less lethal pistol launcher. It is equipped with tear gas and kinetic ammunition. It is designed to incapacitate any attacker for up to 40 minutes. Go to their website, byrna.com/Hannity. Right now, you'll get 10% off. Let me tell you this Byrna story. Bob was at home. An intruder physically forced his way inside. Now, luckily, Bob had just received his Byrna 4 days prior to this incident, and he used it to get the man outside and off of his property. Byrna, it's legal in all 50 states. There's no background check needed. It can be shipped directly to your door. Now, see the powerful technology that is Byrna. Go to their website, byrna.com/Hannity. Right now, you'll get 10% off. That's byrna.com/Hannity today.
U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service came to an end after a chemical exposure caused a large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he is paralyzed on the left side of his body, legally blind, prone to memory loss, and in a wheelchair. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation built this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. Help heroes like Jesse Clark. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare, and I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-919-1441. 800-919-1441. 800-919-1441.
All across the country, states are embracing school choice and offering vouchers to families to send students to whichever school they want, including private Christian schools. Illinois, however, has resisted this trend, despite all the benefits of private education. Well, we have a solution. ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. It's simple. Just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com and tell us which private school you want to send your child to. Then we contact the school on your behalf and work to secure a voucher for half off the first year of tuition, typically saving thousands of dollars for families. The program only applies to new students who are not currently enrolled in the school. So if you've been considering sending your child to a private school and thought it was financially out of reach, go to ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com to learn more and to start the process today. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
Have you seen our energy bill? You'd think Elon used our furnace to power his rocket ships.
Very funny, babe. That furnace is 20 years old and probably hasn't been cleaned in 10.
I'll have Air Right Heating and Cooling check it out. They've seen it all. Plus, there's still time to take advantage of federal rebates. They even give AM 560 listeners $56 off any service.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at air-rite.com. That's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 17 minutes, 14 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 17 minutes. It's about 22 minutes on the outbound side. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about 23 minutes. It'll be about 23 minutes the outbound side. And on the Stevenson from Tri-State inbound to Lakeshore, 23 minutes, and outbound about 17 minutes. Traffic is a service of Anthony DeGrotto State Farm. Guest contributor to Get Down to Business with host Shalom Klein, heard Sundays at 6 p.m. Hear why Anthony's team is like a good neighbor. State Farm is there. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now checking your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Turning cloudy with a couple of afternoon showers. Our high today, 52. Periods of rain tonight, low 42. Cloudy day tomorrow, the high 54. Clouds on Sunday morning. It'll be partly sunny by afternoon, the high at 51. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Picking up our discussion of government school systems from last hour, K through 12. Story of being a leftist cannibalized by the left. In leafy Evanston, the nation's first in reparations. The story in the Free Press. Barry Weiss's outlet. You remember, you're going to remember this story. May of 2022, when 3 nooses were found at a middle school in Evanston.
Allegedly, yes, okay. Yeah. They still haven't cracked the case on the noose that was allegedly found at the Obama Center.
$100,000 reward waiting for someone to claim it. Mike Klotz can't recall his 12-year-old son leaving the house in May of 2022, but he said his 6th grader would have walked as usual to Haven Middle School, accompanied by his 13-year-old brother. According to staff members who were in the building that day, the atmosphere at Haven Middle School in Evanston was tense. A group of students were staging a protest about the transfer of a few popular teachers. Haven has a violence problem. And that's according to, well, the actual incident reports, as well as Mike Klotz, who's a teacher there, was. 30% of the students there are considered low income. One teacher who worked there at the time but has since left told the reporter who interviewed Klotz and did this piece, told this reporter for the Free Press that he didn't feel safe in the building. He constantly feared verbal and physical assault and knew if something had happened to me, I wouldn't be protected by the district. Direct quotes. We wouldn't walk the hallways in between class periods because it was unsafe. That's how bad it was. Mike Klotz was there for 2.5 years working as a special education teacher at Haven until they resigned in January of 2022 because he no longer felt safe as a teacher there. But his own kids had to keep attending the school because we really didn't have much of a choice. They couldn't afford private school. We're a household of public servants and moved to Evanston for the schools. Move to Evanston for the schools. District 65. Progressive utopia. Then came Friday the 13th. What began as a peaceful protest, mostly peaceful, devolved into what one teacher described to the Free Press reporter as, quote, an absolute mob scene. Inside the school, 7th and 8th graders were running through the hallways, slamming locker doors shut, and chanting F. Ladding, referring to Haven's principal, Christopher Ladding.
Okay.
Then someone called the police. Mostly peaceful. 6th and 7th and 8th graders running the asylum there at Haven.
Sounds like Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Oof. That's not a good situation if you're a teacher.
Mike Klotz's son wasn't involved in the mostly peaceful protest. And wait till you hear how the superintendent describes it. Devin Horton, who is just an absolute bottom-feeding race hustler. Disgusting. It's amazing to me that, it really is amazing to me that people don't get upset about what's happening at their local schools like this stuff. This is just, just riles me to no end. Anyway, back to the mob scene.
Yeah, please.
Klotz's son, Mike Klotz's son, wasn't involved in any of that mostly peaceful protest. He was outside in the schoolyard with the rest of his 6th grade class. But what happened in the schoolyard has reverberations to this day, 3 years later. A 6th grader, an 11-year-old friend of Klotz's son, pulled 3 jump ropes out of a recess bin and started tying them in knots. He started fashioning them into nooses. He made 3. Another child saw that he seemed upset, so he ran up to Mike Klotz's son and asked him to come speak to his friend, because Klotz's son was friends with this kid that was making these nooses. Klotz's son crossed the yard to ask the boy what he was doing, checked if he was okay. They spoke a little bit. Then the child who made the nooses hung them on a small shrub-like tree, and the 2 boys ran off to another part of the yard, leaving the ropes hanging a few feet off the ground. It wasn't long until a parent caught sight of them and immediately alerted the police. 3 hours later, every family with a child in Evanston-Skokie School District 65, which, it is, in my view, borderline child abuse to send your kid to that district school. I don't care. Move if you can't afford private school. 3 hours later, at 5 o'clock, every family with a child in that school district got an email from then Superintendent Devin Horton. Garbage human being. A well-known pioneer of anti-racist education, the Free Press generally describes him as. The subject line read, Haven student sit-in and hate crime. Oh, is that what it was? It was a sit-in.
A sit-in instead of an absolute try and take over?
A sit-in that required the police to be called.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mostly peaceful. It's mostly peaceful protest, running through the halls and slamming lockers and using profanity. Just another day in leftist utopia. Horton said the parents had reported finding 3 nooses hanging from trees. Wrote, quote, "This is a hate crime." Judge, jury, and executioner there, Devin Horton. "This is a hate crime and a deliberate and specific incidence of an outwardly racist act. It resounds with a tone of hate and hurt that will impact members of our entire community, namely the Black and African American students, staff, and families who have experienced generations of harm." Boy, talk about your canned response. He also wrote, quote, "Institutionalized racism has been used in the past to intimidate and discourage minority leaders." Even if it turned out that this was an intentional hate crime, even if it turned out that way, little foreshadowing. To suggest a 6th grader was doing this to intimidate minority leaders, the Western, it's so over the top, because that's what race hustlers do. Oh, and of course, nobody wants to talk to the Free Press writing about this story. And if it's not becoming clear to you why, it will be shortly. When Klotz got the email that night, his 12-year-old son was on his way to scout camp for the night. He had no idea his boy witnessed the alleged hate crime. But he remembers thinking the email had jumped to conclusions in a way that seemed reckless. You think? His wife, Melissa Klotz, worked for the city of Evanston at the time. I think that's where she worked. She was a city planner. Told the reporter, her first thought when she read the email, what actually happened, because when anything happened at that school or in the district, you would always only get a partial story that may or may not be true. It's an interesting statement from a parent who sent their kids to that school. The next morning, Mike Klotz got a call. the father of the son's friend, the one who had tied the nooses, said, "My son was involved and so was yours." After his son got home from camp, Mike Klotz asked him what happened. The 12-year-old said he'd asked if his friend was if he was okay and watched him hang the ropes in a tree. Mike Klotz saying, "I didn't take his word for it. I asked around 2 or 3 other people, teachers and parents told him the exact same story about what they saw, so that his kid was telling the truth." The Klotzes had been ready to accept that their son had done something wrong, but after learning the full story from others, he felt the opposite. "I was damn proud of him," Mike Klotz told me. "He went and checked on his friend. That's all he's guilty of. We should all be so lucky to have a friend like that," because the friend, was acting weird, and that will come into focus, too, here shortly. But then Klotz started seeing other Haven parents on Facebook speculating about the hate crime and the identities of children who committed it. He was, of course, worried that his son would be mentioned. Then they got another email from the principal, who wrote in response to the hate crime, the school would bring in equity consultants to help the Haven community process and share the truth about the events that occurred on Friday and to enable a productive and necessary conversations around racial equity. Of course, the adult thing to do. Teachers were instructed to give their the children in their classes time to discuss their feelings. Interestingly, one teacher said she asked her 6th grade class if they knew what nooses symbolized. Only 2 of the students had any knowledge of the fact that nooses had any kind of racialized meaning. Every single other student thought the noose symbolized and represented suicide. Why do you think that is? Mike Klotz knew. This is because we don't talk about nooses as a symbol of America's past until 8th grade. I know because I taught the class. You would think that the teachers and administrators would know as well, but and maybe factor that into their knee-jerk decision that it was a hate crime. But alas, you would be wrong. Melissa Klotz, "I know my son. I know he's not a perfect angel, and every kid can make mistakes, but I also know he's grown up and the friends he's had over time, and how he's grown up and the friends he had over time in the neighborhood that we lived in. And my kid doesn't have a racist bone in his body. There's no way that could have been what happened in terms of, him playing a material role in any of this." It took 6 weeks to complete the investigation. In the meantime, both kids missed the rest of 6th grade, put on administrative leave from the school. Both kids? Yeah. Klotz's family said the Klotz family said they were terrified their son's involvement in the case would become public knowledge. Melissa Klotz, mom, "They're going to send our name to the entire community and try to present the narrative that we are these awful racist people."
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, she was working for a town planner, or she was working for a town planner with some authority in Evanston. I assume it's some government agency or the city of Evanston. I don't know, but not material. But she was worried. Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to get attacked? Are my kids going to get attacked? It made us feel so unsafe. That's interesting. And wait till you hear a little bit more about the Klotz's background. Why would you feel unsafe? Well, getting attacked, it almost sounds like you're afraid of leftist mobs, all jacked up on identitarian ignorance, coming after you and your son. Huh. Well, isn't that interesting? Why would you feel like you're going to be attacked? You're in this haven, pun intended, of tolerance and understanding and compassion and empathy. Aren't those the cardinal virtues of the left? Huh. The incident mushroomed into a symbol of the ideologically fueled hysteria that swept America in the wake of the Black Lives Matter protests. Well, this is a couple years removed, but nonetheless. On social media and in school board meetings, the children were condemned by adults as being, quote, future Klan leaders, unquote, kids with murderous values, quote, unquote, guilty of, quote, an act of racial terrorizing, unquote. Mike Klotz told me the town's reaction to the event was so extreme, we had to effing move because of it.
Oh, boy.
The police completed their investigation after the school year had finished. 33-page report. I mean, the whole.
Oh, my. 33 pages?
Yeah. The nooses, police concluded in the report, were not a symbol of racial hatred.
No, they were jump ropes.
Well, no, but were a cry for help, likely a cry for help from a young man who had some mental health issues.
Okay, got it.
The boy responsible for putting the ropes in the trees, quote, has some very serious mental health issues and has tied knots previously as a soothing technique, quote, unquote, from the police report.
Oh, my gosh.
But don't tell that to Devin Horton or the identitarian mobs forming and the keyboard warriors on social media, condemning two sixth graders as future Klan leaders, racial terrorists.
I know. They're sick. I still pray for them, but it's hard. Those keyboard warriors. They love to ruin lives.
2 days after the incident, the father of the 11-year-old accused hate criminal told a Haven staffer his son was in the midst of a mental health crisis when the incident occurred. The soothing technique, the eyewitness account that the boy seemed agitated, not happy, disturbed, which is why they went to get Mike Klotz's kid because they knew Klotz's kid was friends with him. It all checks out. But you have to be sane and interested in facts in order to get to the truth of what occurred. Listen to Devin Horton after the police report. The actions and motive of the involved juvenile did not meet the legal statutory elements of a hate crime. The district will move forward with its own internal investigation to determine the appropriate level of intervention, both disciplinary and restorative. We fully recognize the harm of these actions on our community, especially for our black students, staff, families, and residents. A member of the District 65 Parents and Guardians Facebook group, Guardians, Safety First, demanded the family involved be outed so that the citizens of this town know who the terrorists are.
Oh, come on. They're minor children, please.
That didn't stop, by the way, Kim Fox from pursuing disorderly conduct charges against this 11-year-old. Ultimately, it was referred to juvenile court, which concluded the incident would not be treated as a criminal matter.
Okay, good. There's one sane person somewhere.
The Klotzes realized that in Evanston, the narrative was set in stone. Mike Klotz said an apology is the only thing I really even want. But one teacher who worked in the district for 15 years told me that in order for that to happen, somebody would have to acknowledge they were wrong. Well, that's never going to happen.
No, don't hold your breath. Will never, ever, ever happen.
Mike Klotz, just reflecting on this. We've got a bunch of violence going on in the school, and now all of a sudden this happened, and nobody talked about any of those things ever again. It was hate crime, hate crime, hate crime, hate crime. Sure. Because they had their moral cause celeb. Well, they could run to the Facebook chat groups.
The Guardian
and stand outside the school and share emails where they're competing to see who can heap the most moral scorn on a couple of sixth graders.
They show their true colors every day.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And they all, and I mean, there's so much here, but you can imagine they did what the board members, including Devin Horton, say they all did their William Jennings Bryan Cross of Gold speeches, the identitarian race hustling versions. Mike Klotz actually had planned to run for a seat on the school board. But after he saw the district's responses to the nooses, he concluded, quote, "It's too effed up here. One person cannot make a difference." After experiencing so much rancor, they put their dream house up for sale in the summer of 2022. Months later, the Klotz family moved to Lincolnwood, 6 miles down the road from Evanston. Close enough for mom to commute to her job in town, but far enough that the kids could go to a new school district. Melissa told the Free Press reporter she considers herself, quote, an extremely liberal person who wants to live where she works, be a part of the community, be useful and helpful to the community. She told the reporter her husband and her dreamed of moving to Evanston because it, quote, is a beautiful place and a very diverse place, and it literally just checks all of the boxes. If you like barbarism, beautiful place. Yeah. And when the reporter went to visit them in their house in Lincolnwood, he was greeted at the door by a Ruth Bader Ginsburg bobblehead doll.
Seriously. If they still want to drink the Kool-Aid, if they learned nothing from this? But
Mike Klotz told me he has always considered himself, quote, a hardcore liberal, but he even believes that progressive politics in his old town have, quote, gone completely cuckoo. Unquote.
All right, there's a little bit of hope there.
Melissa Klotz, I've lost faith in everything. Now I just assume all people are bad unless they can prove otherwise. Well, now you're getting somewhere, Melissa and Mike. Long way to go, it seems like me, if you still got the Ruth Bader Ginsburg bobblehead doll at your entranceway. But okay. She's cynical about politics. She'll never vote again. Well,
no, that's all right with me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Me too.
But I love what the reporter wrote. False alarms over hate crimes are becoming increasingly common in American life.
Well, of course. We've talked about this over and over again.
Bubba Wallace, excuse me.
And Will Riley wrote a book called Hate Crime Hoax, and it's one after the other. Gabby in Schaumburg.
Hi, good morning, guys. I'll be quick. There's just money in this hustle. I think it's very simple. Plain and simple. There's money in it. It secures job. It guarantees funding. And that's all I have. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for the call, Gabby. Well, it doesn't guarantee funding so much anymore, at least not federal funding. But, yeah, state and local and advancement and
whatever happened to that superintendent?
He moved on to another.
Devin Horton.
Yeah, he moved on to another school district.
Oh, to destroy more lives?
Yes.
And he's going to get a fat, big butt pension, too, I bet, right? Did I just say big butt?
Yes. Well,
when he retires, his pension is going to be...
Oh, yeah, seven who knows?
Figures, maybe.
Maybe 8 net present value. These school districts, these animals, I'm talking about the adults. Yeah. The behavior that's documented here, it's not new. Probably doesn't come as a surprise because there's been stories like this. But, I mean, how do you live with yourself? And I would say the same thing to the Klotzes. They still got a long way to go, it sounds to me, in terms of fully internalizing what happened and the implications of what happened in terms of their understanding of the world and their own politics. But how do you let a mob come for your 6th grader? I will never understand it. All right, coming up at 7:37, we'll return to dollars and cents issues like tariffs.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 41 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. A federal judge who ordered the Trump administration to stop deporting Venezuelan illegals says there's a fair likelihood they violated his court order. Last month, the judge ordered the administration to stop deporting them to El Salvador using an 18th century wartime law. At a hearing in Washington, D.C. Thursday, the district court judge grilled a Justice Department lawyer about who ordered the planes full of illegals to keep going to El Salvador. The judge says he will likely wait until next week to issue a ruling on whether the White House was in contempt of court for having ignored his order. China's hitting back at the U.S. with 34% tariffs on all goods imported from America starting April 10th. The country's finance ministry announced the move today after President Trump raised the tariffs on China Wednesday to 54%. Beijing called for Washington to cancel the tariffs and resolve differences through consultation in a respectful manner. China warned that the tariffs imposed by the U.S. will endanger global economic development. One person's in critical condition and 8 others hospitalized after a high-rise fire in the Chicago's Edgewood neighborhood. The blaze broke out yesterday in the 5400 block of North Kenmore Avenue. Firefighters rescued dozens of residents. Many injured were seniors. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
This week on Capitol Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
The House Republicans are building muscle memory now for winning. We have a string of wins under our belt, and it's good to be underestimated, Tony. We are going to deliver the America First agenda for the American people.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on Capitol Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
President Trump has made some pretty amazing claims since he's taken his seat as president. He's delivering on what he promised. On Inauguration Day, Trump's very first declaration was,
"The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish."
Consider this. Since the election, gold has shot up hundreds of dollars per ounce, shattering all-time record highs. Fox Valley Coins does not pretend to know the future, but they do know that if you're buying or selling gold or silver, they are the place to do it. These are some of the top reasons people choose a dealer. You want a national dealer with a local presence you can deal with face-to-face. You want a large selection, the best prices, and great service. You want to walk in with cash and walk out with the best product. You want to deal with legacy dealers with integrity. Whether buying or selling or just one valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your answer for choosing a dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
A Rolex isn't as cheap as a Casio, and you can't buy a gold bar for the price of a candy bar. But while they last, you can buy high-end Beautyrest Black and Sealy Posturepedic mattresses for nowhere near high-end prices. Hassellus Mattress is clearing out a handful of premium floor models. These are the best of the best, and now you can get them for way less. Like a Beautyrest Black LX Hybrid was $3,599, but now it's just $971. Or a Sealy Posturepedic Golden Acres Pillow Top was $1,093, but the floor model is just $546. Visit any employee-free, hassle-less showroom and test your favorite floor model without salespeople breathing down your neck. You won't find these mattresses priced this low anywhere else. It's like buying a Lamborghini for $10,000 just because it sat on the showroom floor. Only a few floor models are available at each Hassellus mattress location, and when they're gone for good. Find your employee-free Chicagoland showroom at hassellus.com.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center. The Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 17 minutes, 14 minutes outbound. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 17 minutes. It's about 22 minutes on the outbound side. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about 23 minutes. It'll be about 23 minutes the outbound side. And on the Stevenson from Tri-State inbound to Lakeshore, 23 minutes, and outbound about 17 minutes. The support is sponsored by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Business owners can keep in touch with up to 200 staff members at one time. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Clouds increasing, afternoon showers, high today 52, periods of rain tonight, low 42, mostly cloudy day tomorrow, the high 54. Clouds on Sunday morning, it'll be partly sunny by the afternoon, high on Sunday at 51. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. I think we need to lighten it up after that Evanston story. I'm so angry about it. So let's do some Municipal Follies.
Municipal Follies?
Yeah, Municipal
That was the name
Follies.
of my elementary school band.
Really?
Yeah.
Who'd you cover?
Tony and Tennille.
Tony and Tennille? Captain and Tennille?
I'm sorry, Captain and Tennille. Oh my God, did I just say Tony and Tennille? See, this is how it starts, Dan. Captain and Tennille. Were you into them when you were a kid? Love.
Yeah, love will keep us together. Yeah, no, not really.
Think of me, babe, whenever.
I did like the skipper cap though on Captain.
Wasn't that
It's a
cool?
nice touch.
Yeah, they were married.
These are fun. I mean, these are fun. Just fun. Just a little bit of cotton candy before we get back to tariffs and take your calls for Open Mic Friday. Minot, North Dakota. The mayor has resigned. Mayor Tom Ross has resigned. Well,
City Attorney Stephanie Stahlheim filed a formal harassment complaint on January 28th against Ross. The report states Stahlheim received a sexually explicit video over text 2 weeks prior. According to the report, when interviewed about the incident, Ross confirmed it was him in the video and he had recorded the video during his lunch break prior to sending it to Stahlheim. The reporter-writer says Ross intended to send it to his romantic partner, whose name begins with C, but mistakenly sent it to the contact city attorney. At this afternoon's special meeting, the council accepted the findings of the report.
now we know who set up that signal call with Mike Walls and the National Security Team. It was this North Dakota Mayor, Tom Ross. That's how Jeffrey Goldberg got on that call.
Okay.
On that chat. Yeah. By the way, the video, which was not described, needs to be described. He sent the city attorney a video of him jerking off.
Dan, can you say that on the radio? Well, you just did.
It's been said.
During his lunch hour, too. Yeah.
Would you prefer stroking the Pope?
Yes, I would, actually. Thank you.
Punching the dolphin?
But maybe that's yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, who does that on their lunch break? That's so bizarre.
Well, I think that the timing of it is probably the less important fact than the fact that he sent it to somebody else. And by the way, why would you send that to your girlfriend? I don't, people, whatever people's private predilections are, I don't really care. But I mean,
well, it's his form of foreplay, I guess.
I really don't want to think about the North Dakota mayor's sex life any more than I've been. Any more than I've chosen to. I mean, it wasn't forced upon me. I've chosen to do it. But yeah, it's just that whole thing, that whole sexting thing, and now sexting video thing is a little bit baffling to me, particularly if you're a public official or like a
mayor,
a company executive. I mean, it just you're sending it even.
Even if you're a plebeian, you shouldn't do it. It'll fall in the wrong hands.
That girlfriend could become an ex-girlfriend. I mean, do you really want that content out there?
Oh, it's going to hang it over your head. Blackmail, Dan. Mm-hmm. Was he married, or that was just his girlfriend, right?
Well, I don't know the details of his, but the report there was that it was girlfriend. So that there's your local affiliate. They're coming to the rescue. Beating the meat.
Okay,
Did you prefer that?
I really, I'd like to move on.
Okay. Just trying to,
I get what he did. I understand.
I'm just trying to come out with
a
a phrase that connotes what the act was, but that you're comfortable with.
I've never heard these terms before, though.
Yeah, right. Please.
Oh, okay.
You went through 5th grade just like we all did. Some of us just never got past that intellectually, like myself, maturity-wise at least. All right. This is always a fun one. Mayor's gone bad. Public officials gone bad. These DUI stops.
Bad.
Speeding stops of local officials, the DUI stops. Remember the PTSD woman, and then we had that.
Which other one? She's my favorite. That PTSD.
Of course, you can't beat that.
I think I mimic her.
No, but then you had the DUI of the.
The New Jersey lady, right?
No. The teacher up in the north suburbs.
Oh.
Remember, she had to be moved around. She kept pleading, and it just went back and forth. Anyway. There's a lot of classics. We got one down here in Naples.
Oh, what do you have down there?
Well, the mayor got a DUI shortly before her reelection.
Oh, really?
Or maybe it was shortly after.
Did she drop a, do you know who I am?
No, but that was a bizarre one, too. What did she
do? She's a mayor. She Uber. I mean,
it was like a road. No, it was like a road rage thing. She went after this kid who I guess she perceived that he cut her off or something. He followed him home, and then the dad's there, and the dad calls police, and the police come, and then she gets DUI'd because she was, under the influence.
And she won her re-election?
Yeah.
Why don't you run for mayor of Naples? Or Sean, that would be funny, actually.
Yeah, that would be funny. Especially the second candidate you suggested.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. Yeah. Gina LaPlaca.
Hey, Gina.
Is the mayor of Lumberton, New Jersey. Democrat. Not that it matters. It happens to Republicans, too. I get it.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
She, it's just funny. She drives home.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, I guess you have to hear her first, and then we could describe what the police see. She drives home, and the police are, there shortly thereafter. And, it goes like this.
Are you okay?
Yes, I am. I'm in the house, buddy.
You all right?
Yes, I am.
I'm struggling to stand a little bit.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You okay?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Thank
Sure?
you.
Have you had anything to drink or anything like that?
No, I'm good.
We got lots of calls where we had multiple calls.
Oh, really?
That you ran a red light, you were swerving.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What happened in your mirror here?
Here, come here. That's not good.
What happened? Was it like this?
Yeah, that's a...
What about this here? Did you hit something on the way here?
Yeah.
What'd you hit? Where at?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Oh, my
Where you come
gosh.
from?
From school?
Have you had anything to drink?
Yeah.
Where at?
Yeah, I have. Thanks for asking.
It's all right. I mean, luckily you're not hurt or anything like that.
No.
All right. So, would you mind doing some tests for it?
What'd you do here? The rear view mirrors hanging off, and you've got the front, the passenger side front and back doors are all scraped up from something she sideswiped clearly. And this is, I think, what alerted to police to follow her home. And then, she admitted to drinking. That's one bad move. And then the sobriety test didn't go particularly well for her.
I mean, how much have you had to drink today?
I don't know.
What did you drink?
Vodka. I'm sorry.
Look, we're just doing our job, so.
No, I know you are.
All right, so at this time we have to place you under arrest for driving while intoxicated. Officer Haskell here.
She's being so sweet.
Yeah. But then, maybe she was slow processing what was happening, where this train was going. I don't know.
She must have been. Why did she freak out then and start?
Well. First of all, she shouldn't have admitted she was drinking. She shouldn't have done field sobriety tests. She shouldn't have then said what she was drinking. Yes. It's just a bad look. Not to mention, she pulls in the driveway that her looks like a grade school age kid runs in the house. So the fact she was drinking with her, that's a whole nother issue.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I see him getting out of the car. The kid. Oh, poor baby.
Yeah, and then come the waterworks when the realization starts to set in.
Step back. I know. That's okay.
Oh my God, that rear view, side mirror is trashed.
Everybody reacts to vodka differently. I suppose.
The toddler changes the whole tone of the story.
Yeah.
But what did she hit? I mean, obviously she didn't kill anybody, but she got lucky on that one. Hey, I don't understand.
Political escapades. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Carr Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. In an important reform, President Trump has signed an executive order ending collective bargaining at most federal agencies. Here's why it matters. When government workers can bargain collectively, they become a powerful special interest with priorities for pay, working conditions, and job security that are often contrary to the taxpayers supporting them. Private sector unions know they can bankrupt their employer if their demands become too extreme, but there's no such limit on government unions. They just demand tax increases and throw their considerable political support to the party that will demand them. There's even a practice called release time. Government employees spend their time working for the union, but receive taxpayer-funded salary and benefits. There's a reason President Franklin Roosevelt opposed government unions. They're part of a system rife with abuse. Congress should end government union collective bargaining through legislation.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, this is an interesting development. We were talking about that story in the Free Press. Mike and Melissa Klotz, formerly of District 65, that noose incident from a couple of years ago, his son being folded into it irresponsibly, wrongly. The police reports finding no hate crime, and then sort of, the fallout after having been put through the ringer by, frankly, his fellow travelers politically in the Evanston-Skokie District 65 school system. And Mike Klotz called in, so let's hear from Mike Klotz. Mike, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. Am I still the villain of the story as I was earlier? Now that I'm on the phone.
No,
you were never.
You weren't the villain, but I certainly don't think that the lessons have been fully internalized, as I said. So I'm not. If you think I'm backing off on what I previously said, I'm not.
Yeah, right. I know. I'm trying to get through this boring show and liven it up a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm glad you learned the lesson. It's great that conservatives rallied to your defense after your son was wronged, and you called him being a leftist smartass. It's so typical.
Making fun of me because of who I voted for. Is that typical? Because you have
making
to make
fun of
this thing political as to your side when it has nothing to do with that.
It doesn't have to do with politics? It doesn't have to do with politics?
Do you want to listen to what I have to say or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
You sit here. Do you think it would have happened any differently up there if I was a Trump voting conservative storming the Capitol? Do you think it would have made a difference? Do you think they would have done me differently?
Storming the Capitol.
Anything to do? Do you think it has anything to do with my politics or my wife's politics?
No, it has
to do with their politics.
My point is you got mugged by the reality of your politics. That's my point.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay.
Yes, right. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. You got mugged by your fellow travelers ideologically, didn't you?
No.
Then what happened?
People are not true believers. Now, listen. See, this is a confusion that simpletons make. Now, listen.
Yes. You're obviously so enlightened.
These people are not actual liberals. These people are power-hungry individuals that use whatever means they have to use it as a cudgel to take that power. You think these people are actual true believers of this thing, of equity, of all this other stuff? Because they're not. They use it against people that will fall in line, that believe what they say.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's what happened.
I understand.
You fell in line.
And that's...
But, I fell in line? Well, how did I fall in line? Please enlighten me.
Well, just... Are you still a Democrat? Are you still a liberal? I'm just asking. Are you?
Let's go. Come
I'm
on.
not quiet. I'm just asking. What are your political affiliations after you went through hell with your family? And
what does it matter? What does it matter?
Because what you're just here, I'll fill it in. What you're describing is the strategy used by identitarians to whom you affiliate, because that is the center mass of the party with which you affiliate. It's not that complicated. It's actually pretty linear.
No. See, now that's a misunderstanding. I do not identify with identitarians in any way whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah, I saw you said progressive.
Not liberals. No. Listen.
The quote in your quote here is that progressive politics have gone cuckoo. That's your quote in the Free Press article.
You got me on the phone right here. I'm telling you. So you're telling me a quote in a thing is more important than what I literally have to say with you here on the phone?
I'm trying to understand if your position is evolving or devolving. Did you say that? Do you believe it? Is that consistent with what you're saying now?
I have never ever in my life. Someone's identity is the least interesting part of them. Okay.
Agreed.
I am not interested in that. Okay. I was never okay with that. I am on the left as far as social issues go, as far as economic issues go, but identitarian stuff is the reason why we lose. Okay? These
Fine.
are not
we
my
agree
people
on that. We agree on that.
Number one, those people that's their number one thing, those are not my people. See, and this is the nuanced take that you need to understand before you get on the radio and talking about how stupid people are and yucking it up.
First of all, I was hardly yucking it up about District 65, and by the way, since the show is too boring and lowbrow for you,
it is.
We've covered District 65 and Devon Horton many times before, so I know precisely what I'm talking about and who I'm talking about. And what you didn't do, if you want me to be specific about it again, because it wasn't yucking it up, it was hardly yucking it up. Because I take this stuff deathly seriously because it is so destructive to K through 12 education and our society writ large. And I know a little bit about the area too because I went to Northwestern, so I know who we're dealing with. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very well.
Yeah. Thank you. And so the point is to not allow you or a conservative or anybody else to not allow yourself to get beat up in a back alley by these mobs, which were nicely detailed in the Free Press story. And I know exactly how they operate. We've covered a lot of stories like this. And you're seeking justice and truth and all these things, which you're never going to get unless people organize across party lines or philosophical lines. I agree, and start to push back against this.
Why are you on here ripping people because of their political beliefs if you want to get people to join your side? What I'm hoping is just no. Listen to me. I turn on the radio and I hear, "Oh my God, Ruth Bader Ginsburg."
Oh, come on, give me a break. So the point was, and I've said it explicitly, now I'll say it one more time. I hope people get mugged by the reality, and it actually informs their understanding, not just of what the problem is, but also informs their understanding in terms of what the approach to deal with it is. And moving to Lincolnwood, I guess, is a start. Getting your kid out of that school district is a start. But my point is to say that people of good faith that are on the center left, fine, non-identitarians, they need to take up rhetorical and intellectual arms too. And they don't do it.
Now we agree on something. Now we definitely agree on something. There we go. I agree with that. But again, focus in on, how do we come together as people if we're sitting here just ripping somebody because of their political beliefs when something bad happens to them? I don't think that's it. Do you like it when Trump support, people make fun of Trump supporters when they get what they voted for? I don't think so.
Yeah, Look, the jabs back and forth, political jabs don't bother me much.
They're all right when they're one sided and you're on the radio by yourself. I understand. Anyway,
no, hardly. And your smart-ass comments aren't helping. But thanks for the call. We're up against the clock, Mike. Thanks for calling in. We'll pick it up on the other side.
It's 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
A surge in hiring. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and the report just out this morning showing a lot more hiring than expected last month, nearly double February's number, which was revised lower.
228,000 jobs added in the month of March. Unemployment rate goes up to 4.2%.
Fox Business Network's Lauren Simonetti, but Wall Street not reacting much to that. Instead, the focus remains on new U.S. tariffs on almost all imports and if they could harm the economy worldwide. Dow futures down 1,000 points before the opening bell this hour after plunging more than 1,600 yesterday, the biggest sell-off since COVID hit in 2020. But President Trump says the market will rebound with a U.S. manufacturing boom. Posting on Truth Social minutes ago, this is a great time to get rich, richer than ever before, and his policies will never change. Saying last night on Air Force One,
you see the plants are starting to construction already. We have many plants.
China, though, is readying a retaliation, a 34% charge on all American products.
Exactly the kind of countermeasure that Treasury Secretary Bessent warned against, saying that would prompt even more escalation from the U.S., from President Trump. But it's not just U.S. adversaries. It's also allies who are trying to weigh their next moves. You had French President Emmanuel Macron calling for suspension of all planned investments in the U.S. by European companies and vowing a united European response.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. President Trump has fired the director of the National Security Agency, Tim Hawk, as well as others in the National Security Council. The lead Democrat on the Senate Intel Committee, Mark Warner, reacted saying, how does this make Americans any safer? More nasty weather forecast today. Texas to Kentucky after days of storms and tornadoes did damage in several states, killing 5 people in Tennessee, 2 more in Indiana and Missouri. And Fox meteorologist Janice Dean also warns of
the heavy rainfall, the once-in-a-generation potential flooding event for some of the same areas.
The threats from Texas to Pennsylvania. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 43 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The monthly employment report's out and it shows far more jobs created in March than expected. Today's report from the Labor Department shows employment rose by 228,000 last month versus 151,000 new jobs added the month prior. The Department of Education is warning public K through 12 schools they could lose federal funds unless they comply with orders to eliminate DEI programs. The department has sent letters to state education commissioners warning that DEI programs are discriminatory and a violation of federal statutes. The letter singled out funding given to local school districts under Title I of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. Public schools, on average, get around 14% of funding from the federal government. Chicago is welcoming a new tourism leader. Choose Chicago selected Kristen Reynolds to lead the city's tourism marketing agency. She served the past 10 years as CEO of New York's Discover Long Island. Reynolds gets the job despite Chicago Mayor Johnson urging board members to hire Deputy Mayor Kenya Merritt, who has no experience in tourism. Reynolds will start her job on May 5th. Two men are accused of gunning down a woman as she held her baby on the west side and are found guilty of murder. A Chicago Cook County judge convicted Michael Washington and Eric Adams of killing Brittany Hill in March of 2019. Hill's family is suing the city of Chicago for leaking the video of her death. News is a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off of any service, including inspections, or take advantage of limited time federal rebates on a new furnace. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RIT.com. Again, that's AIR-RIT.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Stock futures are slumping, pointing to more significant losses on Wall Street today after China retaliated against President Trump's tariffs with 34% on all imported goods from the U.S. to take effect Thursday. The Wall Street Journal says the tariffs announced this week were deeper and more aggressive than the business world expected. J.P. Morgan economists are now warning they see a 60% chance of a global recession. Crude oil prices are sliding to the $65 a barrel range. Investors are moving money into U.S. Treasuries. 10-year yields slipped below the 4% mark today. Wall Street will also be reacting today to the monthly employment report, and Fed Chair Jerome Powell delivers comments today. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
When you need to talk about what's happening today.
Hey, can I talk to you for a second?
There's one place you can come to. The Sean Thompson Show.
Do it! Do it! I dare you. Do it!
Get in the conversation.
Everybody talks about that show. Sounds great, doesn't it?
Weekdays starting at 4.
This is easy.
I like his honesty and his frankness. Every day I listen to him, I learn.
He says what's on his mind. He's real.
Best person out there to listen to. We're combating people who prefer the lie.
He's Sean Thompson, only on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Trust and Will knows that we'll all eventually need a will. How about right now? Trust and Will makes creating your will easy, like while you're lounging on the couch easy. Trust and Will is designed by attorneys but customized by you, and all documents are state-specific and secure. Find your plan at trustandwill.com and use offer code RADIO now for 20% off. That's trustandwill.com, offer code RADIO. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
It's tax season. By now, we're all a bit tired of numbers, but here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now, here's a good number, $100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity's stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed. Save up to 40% in your first year with promo code CLAY. Visit LifeLock.com. That's LifeLock.com, promo code CLAY. Terms apply.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709. 800-505-8709.
U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service came to an end after a chemical exposure caused a large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he is paralyzed on the left side of his body, legally blind, prone to memory loss, and in a wheelchair. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation built this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. Help heroes like Jesse Clark. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, about 18 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn interchange, about 20 minutes. Outbound, about 32 minutes. That's due to an accident with the right lane blocked between Armitage and about Sacramento Avenue. On the outbound side, we've got some pretty solid traffic, 45 minutes. That's due to a crash. Also, right lane blocked between Armitage and Sacramento. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 33 minutes. On the outbound side, about 18 minutes. The Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 28 minutes. And outbound, about 16 minutes. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now checking your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Turning cloudy with a couple of afternoon showers. Our high today, 52. Periods of rain tonight, low 42. Cloudy day tomorrow, the high 54. Clouds on Sunday morning. It'll be partly sunny by afternoon, the high at 51. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Just a postscript on Mike Klotz, since we had a bit of a heated exchange there at the end of last hour.
I'm glad he called in, though.
Yeah, so am I. That's why
our
we took
boring show.
Yeah, I know. It's just, but that's the problem. You know, it's exactly what I said. Exactly what I could read from this very good Free Press article. I could get right inside his head in terms of where this guy is, and then he proved it. As I said, mugged by reality, but he's got a long way to go, or they do as a family. Listen to his words, which apparently some of which he is now wants to take back. I don't know. He seemed to be bothered that he was quoted as saying the progressive politics has gone cuckoo. But anyway, it's fine. He's not an identitarian. We agree on that. Happy to join forces with allies of convenience, recognizing that that's all it is because he's not going anywhere. He just sees this as sort of a bug within his party and politics rather than a feature, which it actually is. He doesn't understand that he's a member of a revolutionary party at present. You know, he has there's a potential he could do so much against the witch burners that he decries. But listen to this additional piece of the story before we get to Jim Perry and talk tariffs and economics. It's unfortunate what's happened to his son. And he, he casts himself, I'm the villain in the story because I made fun of their Ruth Bader Ginsburg bobblehead dollar. I didn't even mention that they have a dog with a pink mohawk. So, it's fine. Whatever.
They have a dog with a pink mohawk?
Yeah, that's I learned from the story. But anyway, it's fine. Be hippies, whatever. I don't care. And I can't make fun of you. Like, you want to come in and you take the Trump shots and stuff. Like, that's, that's all they have. Talk about boring. Oh, Trump people are getting what they want. And you like it when people are critical of Trump supporters and stuff. You can be critical of whatever you want. Name calling is part of politics. Big deal.
Just wanted to know how
the
his son-
substance of what happened here is the big deal.
Right.
But he can't get beyond it. He can't get beyond his politics. Their son, now a
What's he
freshman
doing? Yeah.
at the local high school, still grappling with the aftermath of what happened to him. He had straight A's in Evanston, very smart. He's struggling to get through school. I don't know if he'll graduate high school, says mom.
That's
It's terrible.
sad.
The family spent around $10,000 on private tutoring to help him focus on his studies. But she says he's never going to trust adults in education, and I don't blame him one bit. He cannot go into a public school building and have any trust in any adult. It ruined his educational career. Mike Klotz said there's no one that's paid any consequences for this whatsoever. And I'll be honest with you, I want my pound of flesh. Without the truth getting out there, we can't move on. Yeah, it's funny. You know how the truth got out there? Because center-right a publication like the Free Press took up his story because a conservative talk show is talking about it. How are all of his friends in leftist media aiding the story, making sure the truth gets out there? I wonder. Didn't hear anything about this. I remember the news story from a couple of years ago because of the hysteria that corporate media always brings to these racial, anything that could possibly be racially charged, that they could demagogue.
The headline, it was another noose found in the Chicago area, this
right.
time at an Evanston Junior High School.
Yes, right. The scourge of white supremacy in Evanston and Skokie. Yeah, right. Okay. But instead he wants to be a smartass. Okay, fine. I mean, stuff is important to me, but if you can't, if it's only sort of transactional and self-interested, we're all supposed to, this is the same thing I talked about the Republican Party, which I'm happy to be critical of, unlike Mike, at least not when he's on the radio, even though he was in print. You don't take up the fights you should take up for other people when the call is made. And then you expect people to rally around you when it's time to fight for you. That doesn't work. What they did to his kid, and they just moved to Lincolnwood. I mean, I agree with getting him out of that school district. What about rallying all of these people that Mike and others suggest are, I'm a liberal, but I'm like a Woodstock liberal. I'm not in this identity stuff. Okay, well, what about rallying all those people that you suggest are the real party of the left? What effort was made? Get in front of the cameras. Go to a school board meeting. Take on all comers. You want to have a public fight? Let's have a public fight. Where's that? So I'm sorry this happened to him, and most importantly, his son. This is why we're talking about it. And I could give a rat's ass what he thinks about me or this show. The problem is that the real lesson hasn't been internalized. A real appreciation for the size and scope of the threat is not present. That's the problem. So if Mike's still listening, call me all the names you want. Give me the hi-hats. I'm not as smart as you think you are. Okay, Mike.
I feel sick for his son. That's awful.
Continue the approach that you've taken until now, 3 years later, of getting beaten up in a back alley by these witch burners. And let me know how that goes. I'm sure your son is internalizing that, too. It's not just adults in education. As I said, how anybody lets the mob come for their sixth grader. Okay. Pick it up in Open Mic Friday. Now we turn our attention to the fallout from the Trump tariffs. Trump saying the rollout is going well. It's the adjustment period but expect big things.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country, and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball, and I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable. The thing that people have to talk about, we're up almost to $7 trillion of investment coming into our country, and you'll see how it's going to turn out. Our country's going to boom.
For more on this, pleased to be joined by our friend Jim Perry, founder, CIO of Perry International Capital Partners. James, thanks for joining us, as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning. Good morning, Amy.
Your general handle on the Liberation Day rollout and the impact and the near term.
Right. Well, Liberation Day and the tariff rollout certainly is a bigger story today than the employment report, which tends to dominate the first Friday of the month news.
Yeah.
The trade war story is causing tremendous anxiety amongst international investors, a little bit less so here. A big part of my business is international. So I have a lot of clients in Europe and Canada, and they are all furious. And I think the reason for it is that, they know they're going to get hit and their economies are going to slow down. So I understand the angst. I think trying to explain what Trump is doing can be boiled down to one simple thing. And that is that, all of this noise about increased prices for consumers, it's really yet to materialize at this moment. Now, maybe it starts today or in 3 days or next week, but prices aren't going up in the country yet. But, in the stock market, to be honest with you, is down 10% from the highs. But, the Dow is down 4%, 5% this year, right? And it's still up 6% from a year of those lows. So I think it's very easy to get wound up and get angry and confused and uncertain and feeling bearish. But at the end of the day, the tariff story is really about the biggest story in this country, which is reducing deficit spending, reducing trade deficits, and reducing the national debt. And whether that happens this week or this quarter, probably not. But in 6 months, end of the year, I think you're going to start seeing some effects on that. And I have a feeling this uncertainty is going to be with us for a while because emotions are running very high.
The jobs number, 228,000 jobs reportedly created in March. Is that meaningful in any direction?
Well, it's a mushy number, as you and I have talked about many times. But, I was thinking it was going to be 250,000, 200,000 new jobs, and it was. It's 228. The interesting thing about the data this morning is federal government jobs apparently are only down by 4,000 jobs, right? Retail's up 23,000, healthcare's up 77. So one of the reasons I'm not too terribly bearish on the economy is that, the labor market is growing, right? I mean, that's what these numbers say, and the trend is quite clear. The labor market in this country, Dan, has never been higher. It's 170 million official workers in this country. Now, government says it's 159, but everybody else says it's 170 or 175. So if this economy is dependent on the consumer spending, and consumers do spend on average 100% of their income, the economy is going to probably grow at 2.5% or 3% this year. Maybe it's a quarter of that this quarter, but I think the economy is probably going to do okay because government spending is going to go down.
The dollar the weakening dollar. Do you see this as either purposeful or problematic or both?
The dollar took a big hit yesterday. It's at 102. What's interesting is that it's actually up against the euro this morning. And I think that if you really look at it in the grand scheme of things, J.P. Morgan has an index of essentially non-G10 currencies, sort of the emerging markets of the world. And that currency index is down about 20%, 23%, in fact, over the last sort of 5 years. So the dollar really is quite strong. And the idea that investors are going to sell the dollar and buy the currency that matters most, which is the euro, which is 57% of the dollar bucket. In a short-term basis, sure, it can go down a little bit. But, longer term, the growth in this country and the dynamic nature of this economy, not to mention sort of rule of law, free speech, and the strong geopolitical presence, the dollar is still going to do very well here. Short term, maybe not, but longer term, there's still money coming into this country.
Now, I thought Trump's tariffs were being used as a bargaining chip, and so far Vietnam and India have shown some movement. But China this morning is 34% reciprocal tariff on U.S. goods. How is that going to affect us?
Yeah.
Because we get most of our stuff from China if people check their labels.
Right. The optimistic view on reciprocal trade has always been, don't worry, the tariffs are never going to come into effect. China can't afford to get into a trade war with the United States, nor can Canada, nor can Mexico. That's kind of been thrown for a loop here this morning. So I think that's one of the reasons, the market was down so hard yesterday, because everybody knew it was coming, and it's probably going to come down a little bit more today. I think as an optimist about this country, I would like to think that there will be more negotiations and some of these tariffs will go down. But it sure doesn't look like it today. What I would say, Amy, 90% of the trade deficit that this country is run against 10 countries, right? So some of these tariffs against smaller nations and Pacific Island countries and things like that, that's kind of silly, and that probably will go away. But, $300 billion to China, $200 billion against the European Union, $175 billion against Mexico, and $125 billion against Vietnam. Those are the top four. Those numbers are going to come down. And I think that even with China reciprocating by 34%, they're not going to be able to afford to do that for very long. But I think, you get $500 billion reduced from the trade deficit in 12 months. That $500 billion goes straight to U.S. GDP, right? So I think they're going to do it, and I think there's going to be a little bit of pain here. But I think the bond market is telling you that inflation's coming down. The dollar is telling you that money's still coming in. In the stock market, everybody's nervous about that because you see it all the time. But remember that, the stock market, the S&P 500, is still up 75% from the 2022 lows when the government started stimulating. And we're down 10% now. You think people are really going to liquidate their stocks when they are up so much in the last 2.5 years? And quite honestly, well, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
So, would you be suggesting that people think about buying the dip?
I do. I don't know where that dip's going to bottom out, but on your show last month, I thought it would be very, very logical and very normal and very healthy for the S&P to retrace to a pretty much standard emotional retracement, which is that sort of famous Fibonacci number at 38.2, which gets you down to about 5,500 or 5,200, 5,100, right? So 51, 52. I'm going to put some money in if we get that low.
The market outlook that you led this week with, which we played earlier in the week, talking about your optimism and thinking about Q3 and Q4 being where you'll start to see some bounce back. Is that predicated? That view, that optimism about the sort of GDP growth you were mentioning, that we're not going to see a recession, market will begin to rebound. Is that predicated on deals getting done, some of those tariffs, including with our major trading partners, being reduced considerably, or do you think that it's regardless even if these tariffs stay substantially in place for the next 12 months?
Right. It's a couple of things, and that's a really good question, and it needs to be kind of articulated. I'll start with this. If global trade was its own country, it would be the largest economy in the world, right? So global trade is $33 trillion a year, right? U.S. economy is $30 trillion. Now, the World Trade Organization came out, saw this article in Reuters yesterday. The World Trade Organization estimates that global trade is going to go down 1% this year. All right? It's not going to go down 10% or 20%. It's going to go down 1%. Like life on the planet, economies find a way to live, right? They find a way to adapt and to live. And I think, this famous sort of Chauncey Gardner thing about, there will be growth in the spring. The Japanese blossoms are coming out in Washington. And I really do think that people do tend to get a little bit wound up about how bad things feel. And a lot of that's market narrative. And, I don't want to get into that too much. But the bottom line is I think that the U.S. economy remains very dynamic. And I think if you can cut government spending by $500 billion, which should be easy, and the trade deficit by $500 billion, that's $1 trillion that goes from non-productive government spending into the economy. And there's no other country or area of the world that can do that. And I think that good investors, long-term investors, generational wealth type investors are looking at this thing and saying, great, get all those longs out of the market because, the S&P is still really expensive. I mean, the price multiple, the valuation is 22 times earnings. The value in Europe is 15 times, in Japan is 15 times, and in China it's 6, right? So the U.S. economy and the U.S. stock markets are still reflecting growth and dynamism, but the emotions behind everything right now are so negative that good investors, like guys like Warren Buffett, he's got 28% of his portfolio in cash. He's just waiting for stuff to get a little bit cheaper. So, yeah, I think, at some point here in 3 months or 6 months, the market's going to turn around because they're going to say, hey, the numbers, the data look pretty good. And these stocks are the cheapest they've been for 2 or 3 years. So
what about
optimistic? I just don't feel it today.
Yeah, understood. Same question predicated on tax cuts being extended with the additions that Trump promised. Is what you're suggesting 3, 6, 9 months down the road also predicated on the tax cuts getting done?
I think the tax cuts were a big part of the platform and sort of the campaign of Trump. I think the hard, cold reality of a drop in revenues coming from trade and whatnot in the short term, kind of, if you listen to Scott Bessent and some of these guys, they're kind of floating around the idea of maybe not cutting taxes so much. And I think that's part of the reason the stock market's not feeling so good. So it's a very dynamic situation right now. I don't believe anything that we see today or this week or even last week is really going to reflect reality when the dust settles. I think deregulation and lower taxes can occur, and deregulation is happening now. But I think the bigger issue is let's cut that trade deficit, let's cut that spending budget deficit.
James Perry, founder, CIO of Perry International Capital Partners. Jim, thanks as always.
Dan, thanks a lot. Have a good weekend. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call it now! Open mic Friday!
Yes, that time of the week, Open Mic Friday, taking your calls. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Your calls with comments, concerns, criticisms, compliments, general crack pottery. We will take it all, but we start, as we do, with turnkey.pro founder David Kolsak. David?
Well, good morning, Dan and Amy. I have to say it was really nice to have a little time off and head to Mexico for some spring break last week. It was nice to put your bare feet on the beach and get some grounding time in. It was really kind of nice to do that. I hope people get at least outside. This time of year, it's getting nicer, so let's get outside and do some grounding. Anyway, but I'm back in the saddle, as they say. And this week I had the painful opportunity to listen to Senator Chris Coons from Delaware, who's been in office since 2010. He's a real peach. He was interviewed by Martha McCallum on Fox News, and it was a very spirited interview, to say the least. But to begin with, Coons is a swamp creature, and he's representative of basically everything people hate about politicians. He's arrogant, condescending. He sticks to his talking points and generally thinks he's smarter than everyone, even that guy from Evanston that was just on. Senator Coons represents the swamp, and he does a good job of that, right? So during this interview, Coons talks about the Doge team as a bunch of 25-year-olds who have little credibility, and they make a lot of mistakes, especially when it comes to Social Security fraud, waste, and abuse. He took great offense to the idea that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, as Elon Musk stated. What's worse is that as a sitting senator, he, of course, stood behind the idea that the inspector generals that are all over our government are more competent and trustworthy than Doge. Coons essentially is pretending that there's no waste, fraud, and abuse in Social Security. He doesn't believe that over 9 million individuals aged 120 or over could be receiving Social Security benefits. Coons finally said that he believed that the figure that the IG said, that there was less than 0.1% of all payments from Social Security that are fraudulent, which was fine by him. But by the same token, he says that Social Security will be insolvent by 2035 because less people are working and everyone's living longer. Simply put, the senator said that Social Security system was not modeled for these conditions and that we have to raise the age of when you can receive those benefits, and we have to raise taxes to keep it solvent. But to sum up the interview, it made me want to punch my TV, as it was such a display of arrogance and gaslighting that we see everywhere in our government. Everything's fine. Don't look for any more fraud, especially get rid of Doge, because they're not the thoughtful, professional, successful business people who gave up their careers to help fix what the inspector generals have failed to do. What a joke. But there's a pattern here with Social Security, and it should be noted. In 1935, when they started this thing, they decided that the full retirement age was going to be 65 years old, but you couldn't collect anything until the year 1940 because there was no money in the fund. But guess what the government knew in 1930 about life expectancy? At that time, in 1935, the life expectancy in the U.S. was 60.9 years. 60.9 years. So the government purposefully set their full retirement age almost 5 years beyond life expectancy. They began that with, let me say that again. They began Social Security with benefits beginning almost 5 years beyond what a normal person would live. So we know since its inception that there have been millions and millions of people who have paid into this system and never received a single Social Security payment because they didn't live long enough. And then in 1983, under Ronald Reagan, the government voted to gradually increase the full retirement age to 67, which it is now. So what exactly do we pay into this system? Employees pay 6.2% of their wages into Social Security. The employer also matches that at 6.2%, making the total contribution 12.4%. So let's assume that an average worker who works a 40-year career with an annual salary of $60,000. Now, this is simple math, and it's not adjusted for all kinds of things, but if anything, these numbers are conservative. Each year, the Social Security system in this scenario would receive $7,400 or 12.4% of $60,000 per year. You multiply that over a course of a 40-year career, and this one person accounts for placing $297,000 into the system. So if you leave out the idea of time value of money and opportunity cost and all other compounding factors, that same worker who worked for 40 years at $60,000 and took retirement at 67, they would receive $35,000 a year. So stay with me. That is also currently subject to income tax. So essentially in the private sector, you can work your whole life, retire at age 67, and you ostensibly survive on your own Social Security contributions for 8.5 years without running out of what you had put into the system. So that's age 75.5, and the average life expectancy today is now 78.4 years. So who's running Social Security? Stevie Wonder? And if you talk to any financial advisor who received this kind of contribution over 40 years, he or she would outperform this garbage. But it's all a Ponzi scheme, like Doge has said, and it's been robbed and pilfered since it began. And there's all kinds of waste, fraud, and abuse. But look for them to raise the age of full retirement once again, because all of the great health care we receive, so we have a greater quality of life in retirement. Yeah, right. I say give us back the money that we've been extorted into paying and let us blow it on whatever we want. My dog would do a better job of running Social Security. And shame on the likes of Senator Coons, who, like most politicians, shows you in every interview that he could care less about you. They've got their own retirement system, and it's way better than the system that they made for you. But I'm not surprised one bit. Are you? Anyway, have a great weekend.
Thank you, David. All right, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line on this Open Mic Friday. Eduardo, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, good morning, Dan and Amy. Well, besides that Stephanie Turner fencer in the University of Maryland, we got another story in Maryland where Dr. Dillon, she's a doctor, graduated from Howard, was killed by her grandson over there in Rockville, Maryland. So not so good things happening over there in Maryland. Possibly Wes Moore, the governor over there, might be running for president.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thanks for the call, Eduardo. Yeah, that was a disturbing case. Well, every murder is, but a 27-year-old grandson kills his grandmother, 87-year-old grandmother, lying in wait for her in a closet. And I think it was, I don't know if the motive has been officially released, but it sounded
money?
like a robbery.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
well,
that's, I don't know.
drugs, sex, or money, and that's why people kill.
Rich in Indian Head Park.
Yes, good morning, gang. Good morning, Amy.
Hi, Rich.
How are you?
Good.
What I wanted to say is everybody is attacking Trump, the Democrats, the Trump haters, and even the experts, saying that these tariffs are gonna really hurt the country. But did anybody say anything about what their plan would be to make things better, or any kind of suggestions? And on top of that, he's just picking up all of the pieces that Biden has done in the last 4 years, are ruining the country. If you look back at it, Biden is the one that's responsible for everything that's going on today. The high prices of gas and food and inflation rate. So everybody keeps attacking Trump. But I still have to ask the question, where are the Democrats and all of these experts giving Trump advice to try to make this country any better? If anybody can answer that, I think we might be able to solve things. Thanks. You guys have a nice weekend.
Thanks for the call, Rich. Peter Barrington.
Yeah, good morning, Dan and Amy. First of all, I want to say with these tariffs, these Democrats are the most anti-American people. They don't realize that we're only charging half of what the other countries are charging us, and how we're not going to be letting these countries start taking advantage of us again. And secondly, I was election judging on election day, and the issue isn't that there's too many Democrats. The issue was that we didn't take Dan Bongino's advice and each take 6 people with us to the voting polls to vote for the right people. So you guys have a good weekend. Thank you.
All right. Thanks,
Peter. Jordan in Antioch.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Yeah, my comment is I'd like to comment on, we're talking about the tariffs, and I'm all in on rebuilding and strengthening America again, but they talk about the plans of bringing back manufacturing, and it seems like there's already signs of that. But what I'm not seeing, and I wish I was a push to start building and rebuilding and strengthening our labor force here. I'm not big on the government getting involved in putting their thumb or incentivizing markets, labor markets and stuff. But, I think we're in the same position with this as we were with COVID, right? You broke it, so you need to fix it. You shut businesses down, so you had to help these businesses stay. And we're in that same area now with our labor force. We have an entire generation that's been incentivized for crap degrees that are useless the DEI stuff. Everybody's a victim. Stay home in your pajamas, and we'll take care of you. And I would like to see, if we're saving all this money from DOGE by eliminating these DEI programs and all this other crap, instead of sending me $5,000, I would really like to see them put that money into a marketing campaign or some sort of push to rebuild bring back Rosie the Riveter and start incentivizing sign-on bonuses, education for labor. I mean, we have a lot of technical labor here, right? We're still a blue-collar country in a lot of ways, but it's all technical labor. It's all plumbers and trained labor, skilled labor. But we're really lacking in the manufacturing, the assembly part, and the factory workers and millwrights and stuff like that. And I would like to see them come forward. Maybe it's too soon, but I would like to know that there's something in play that they're going to start doing, putting a push on rebuilding our World War II effort here, push to bring back our labor market, bring back Rosie the Riveter, bring back Uncle Sam, start incentivizing factory and labor and manufacturing labor. I'm not seeing it, but I'm hoping I do. And I'm like I said, I'm not big on the government getting in, but you guys broke an entire generation, and now it's up to you to fix it. So
thanks for the call, Jordan. Appreciate it. Jeff, Plano, Texas.
Hi, good morning, guys. Formerly of Jeff from Gurnee. Twofold. Yes, the Six Flags Great America fingerprint guy. Two things. Number one, to help understand, Dan, with all these executive orders, why isn't Speaker Johnson trying to get this into law? Because if Trump or Vance doesn't win, then the next president could just negate all these executive orders. The second one, and then I'll hang up and let you guys talk, is with the tariffs. Just like a relationship, once you figure out that the other person's taking advantage of you and you call them out on it, then they get pissed off at you because you're the one that figured them out. So, it'll all blow over. But at the same token, that's basically my comment. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend, guys. And
thanks for the call, Jeff. Appreciate it. No, I mean, there's no question about Congress acting, and they're struggling enough right now to fights over, being able to proxy vote and so forth, which is a bit silly. I completely agree. We talked about it a bit earlier in the show too. We've talked about it all week, frankly. To see Speaker Johnson start moving some of these flags down the field with respect, starting with the tax cuts that I keep pounding on, as well as issues that relate to these other core deliverables. Executive orders alone is not going to cut it, not for long. I agree. Monica and Lyle.
Yeah, one of the things I thought about, and I don't know if this is like picking winners and losers or not, but would the country benefit from a marketing campaign, either from the president or something more subtle, like from, the guy from Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe, to go on doing some sort of national blitz about pushing manufacturing or trade schools, or somehow promoting that idea and maybe offering scholarships. But again, I don't know if that's like picking winners or losers, but looking at what this country's done before with NAFTA and the pushing of jobs overseas, we've lost quite a bit of that. So how do we get that back? And is that a way of doing it?
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the call, Monica. I work with the trade schools that exist. Mike Rowe's got his foundation that provides assistance to people that go to trade schools. You have trade schools set up, that one in Springfield, Illinois. We've interviewed the founder of that a couple of times. So, yeah, I mean, I think the president can use his bully pulpit. Other politicians can use their bully pulpit with respect to drawing attention to trade schools generically, as well as maybe some by name specifically. And it certainly now is the time to talk about it, when you want to talk about, onshoring, not just with respect to existing capacity, but if you want to talk about companies building new facilities in this country, and the lack, as we have talked about in the context of this tariff conversation, the lack of people in the trades in terms of on the scale that are needed, than the scale needed right now, much less if you do see significant reindustrialization, new manufacturing facilities being built here. Right, who's going to work there, even in an era of AI and automation? And I definitely part of the larger conversation about trade policy and American innovation. John in Florence, Wisconsin.
Morning, folks. My recent failed write-in campaign for school board taught me that Nietzsche's one of his favorite sayings, that patience is the toughest of virtues to practice, also brings me back to the fact that if you lived history, you don't have to learn history. And most of us, I think, are old enough to remember, if we think about it, that it took Reagan 18 or 19 months to get things turned around when he took over from President Malaise. So it's going to take President Trump a little bit of things, and if we give him the first 100 days, if we can manage that. The correction in the stock market, Adam Taggart, Thoughtful Money, has been predicting that for the last 2.5 years. And when you look at the retirement ages, everybody's getting older. Boomers are taking money out. Okay. And if we go back on tariffs, it was Woodrow Wilson that started to get rid of tariffs because he had a thing called the Internal Revenue Service and an income tax. So everyone just needs to take a step back, except, Tom, formerly of Evanston, who needs to give his wife some more foot rubs so she stops spending so much time with her boyfriend. You guys have a great weekend.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for the call. I'm the Tom from Evanston reference is lost on me, but okay. The Prime Minister in Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
Keep it clean there, buddy.
I don't know how to keep it clean, and you know that very well. Dan, last week I read you a poem trying to soften your perspicacious heart and to battle this malarkey of why Dan Proft is single. Because, we know for sure it's not the low T. Was I able to touch your heart? Are you now interested in getting married suddenly?
Yes, you touched me in places I didn't think I had, Prime Minister. Okay.
Well, I can read that poem yet again for you if you think it works. Or I've got another poem for you. And I'm jealous of the Arlington Heights fella who's the Morning Answer Poet Laureate. And, since I'm your cowboy of comedy, Bernie Sanders referred to me as the oligarch of crack pottery. I'm your cowboy of comedy. I seek the designation Cowboy Poet Laureate of Morning Answer. So I have another poem, but I could read last week's poem.
No. Let's hear the new prose. Go ahead.
I ate a chili pepper by Barbara Vance. I ate a chili pepper on a lunchtime dare. The girlfriend said I'd burn me mouth. I said a silent prayer. I ate that chili pepper, left not a seed to waste, and won that truly silly bet, but lost my sense of taste. And Amy, you know that's true, don't you?
Okay, PM.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, need to take a cleansing breath. Mike in Green Bay.
Hey, guys. I wanted to chime in on that Wisconsin Supreme Court race, finally getting a chance to call in and talk about it. But being up here, I was just disappointed as a Republican voter, not in the results, which were obviously disappointing, but the whole process, the whole election. First of all, the ads up here were really nasty. I mean, I was hearing ads on both sides, and that were mentioning child porn, child rape, just disgusting stuff, which I think was a turnoff to a lot of people. And then, second of all, even the arguments made on the right, I was disappointed in. This whole they're going to redistrict and remove Republicans' seats, and Democrats are going to take over the House. Well, first of all, you don't know what's going to happen in an election a year and a half from now. especially with Trump as president. I mean, we got a long way to go. There's going to be a lot of factors that come to play, a lot of events that are going to be taking place over that period of time. So that make those kind of prognostications was a turnoff to me. And listen, if the Democrats are able to redraw the maps up here, well, Republicans still got to compete regardless of what the boundaries are. You know, it sounds like they sound like Illinois Republicans with this fair match stuff a few years ago, and I was just disappointed. I still voted. Of course, I voted for Schimel, but I thought it had nothing even to do with the Supreme Court race, and or even Schimel himself.
What do you think they should have been arguing? What messages should they have been sending?
Try to be a little bit more positive, I think, or try to make an argument for why I should vote for Schimel and not just against Crawford. Because, like I said, in the election ads, they do get nasty up here, obviously, but some of the stuff I was hearing just turned me off as a voter. I just didn't like it at all.
All right, thanks for the call, Mike. Steve in Orland Park.
Good morning, Dan. I was wondering, when you think we'll see some books coming out exposing the behind the scenes of the Biden-Harris presidency? I'm really looking forward to seeing those kind of.
That's out.
Yeah, thanks for the call. Doesn't Jake Tapper have one?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
After he's saying that cognitively Biden was fine, and then all of a sudden in the book he wasn't so fine.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that most of it will be
there is another one. Hold on.
Yeah, to heap scorn on Biden and for the purposes of separating themselves from what they were party to. Of course, that's when you get media types like Jake Tapper writing such books. But
and also that Barack Obama was working against Kamala Harris behind the scenes. He wanted an open primary. That's in another Biden's exit book.
Hardly revelatory stuff.
He didn't think
really.
she could win. I don't know if you knew that. Ooh.
Yeah. I mean,
What's the name of this book?
I don't know how much more there is to really say on Biden that we don't already know. I mean, so much of that was suspected to be the case has essentially been proven to be the case. Mm-hmm. So
the book is called Fight: Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Did I lose you, Dan?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Those the Biden expose books. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think those are going to be flying off the shelves. Mac in Indiana.
Hey, I got a new idea on how to keep these idiots from Illinois moving to Indiana. Put a picture of the prime minister on a billboard.
Hey-o.
That'll keep them away. Hey, real quick, though.
All right.
Hey, the guy who opens this segment with that long dissertation, can you print a summary or a schematic? That guy makes my head spin. I think he's got ADD. And can we get Amy, I need a clarification. I didn't give Dan the pickleball. I gave it to the show because it said, to the best, Amy and Dan love Mad Max. You made it sound like I sent a love letter to Dan. I kind of got the heebie-jeebies on that, you know?
Yeah, me too.
Well, I'm going to start using it, so the writing might be...
Thanks for the...
Put that thing on the air, okay? And I'll take you guys out for pickleball. And our beverages are usually going to be bourbon after the games.
Beautiful. All right, thanks for the call,
And don't
Mac.
forget, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot on this day, April 4th, 1968. 57 years ago.
What does that have to do with pickleball?
I didn't get any sleep this week, and nothing.
Do you? Matt gave us one pickleball.
He gave us one pickleball, but I play. I've been playing, and actually, I got invited back to play again. I did so spectacular on Wednesday at the Elk Grove Pavilion Fitness Center.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Israel,
I won a match and I lost one, so yeah.
Oh, that doesn't sound very great. Sounds like you were 1-1.
I needed a game to warm up. Okay.
Yeah, Israel, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Israel, King Israel from Inglewood, Chicago. But I'm in New York now, and I wanted to give you guys a report. Amy, thanks for mentioning Martin Luther King situation. Well, do you know Eric Adams left the Democratic Party out here in New York? He's not running.
As an independent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now I wish, Dan, you can get the word out. A lot of black people not feeling the Democratic Party across this country. I was trying to get the message to Kathy Salvi or Dean White when I get back to Illinois, but as I move around boots on the ground, what's the Republican Party stop ignoring us?
Great. I mean, I'm with you. Thanks for the call, Israel. Yeah, I'm happy to profile and encourage those who are encouraging others to think differently, to start, to move. It starts by getting out of that new Marxist party and go. The safety of being an independent, a non-affiliated. That's fine. That's a start. It means people are thinking. Just definitely want to encourage that. Chuck in Delavan, Wisconsin.
Hey, Pier 290 tonight, tomorrow night to Abby, and then Tuesday, everybody get to Herner's Hideaway. And they're going to have a band over there, and the girl that's the singer, it's going to be her 60th birthday party.
Really?
So let's all go with Don Soto a happy birthday.
Chuck,
Do you have some eyes for her? Is that your love interest?
No, she's married. I was just out with a 45-year-old this week, and then I found out she had 6 kids. She wanted to move in with me, and I put a stop to that. So now I'm back out looking for something more like.
All right.
Anyway.
Chuck, happy hunting this weekend. Thanks, as always, Chuck. Appreciate that.
And you get to go to the Masters, the practice round, right, on Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm going to go to practice round.
Are you excited? Have you been before?
I have not, so I'm excited to be on property.
All right. Thanks so much for listening, and we love you. Our listeners couldn't do it without you, and thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. Justin, have fun moving today. He's getting out of his Elgin compound, and now it's 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News alert.